Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Tim K here, host of the Veterans Project podcast, founder of the Veterans Project and the Caregiver Project as well. I'm here to talk to you about some incredible folks who keep me living in comfort and style while I'm on the road. That's right. Hilton Hotels is a world-renowned, award-winning hotel chain known for their first-class amenities, authentic hospitality, and top-of-the-line commitment to your comfortable stay. The name Hilton has become synonymous with hotel. But did you know about Hilton's commitment to our military and its veterans? Did you? I didn't. To be honest, before this relationship unfolded, I did not know. Through Operation Opportunity, whose motto is "Our mission is your success," Hilton Hotels has been able to hire 30,000 veterans, military spouses, and dependents since 2013 with a commitment to hire 25,000. That's right, 25,000 more by the end of 2025. Wow, wow, wow. What a commitment. To learn more about Hilton's military programs, check out Operation Opportunity at jobs.hilton.com/military. Guys, I'll be the first to tell you, staying in the hatchback, sleeping on the road, Scion TC, starving artist, that might have looked cool, cramped my style massively. I definitely appreciate having an award-winning breakfast, high-speed internet, and a comfortable bed. It makes my job so much easier with the already stressful work that these projects are. Blessed that I get to do them, but it is hard work. So I'm thankful for Hilton. I appreciate them a lot. Go check out Operation Opportunity, jobs.hilton.com/military. Check it out. This next guest is not only a successful designer of an incredibly beautiful line of jewelry called Brass and Unity, but she's also a Canadian Army veteran of Afghanistan. We sat down in downtown San Antonio, Military City, USA, aka my home, which I'm very proud of, to talk about her work as the visionary of a very successful brand. Her art has been worn by Ellen DeGeneres, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Kevin Hart, and many, many more. On top of a successful line of designer wearables, her brand is based on the movement, keyword movement. It's much more than just jewelry. It's moving to give back to the veteran and caregiver community while raising awareness about the challenges we face upon reentry into society. And she knows those challenges very well. We discussed everything from her brand to the warrior culture to differences in the Canadian U.S. Armed Forces. We discussed her worst days in combat as well and being a female in a predominantly male environment. And she has a pretty exciting announcement to make, which she made on the podcast. Here she is, without further ado, Kelsi Sheren.
The Veterans Project is a comprehensive essay capturing the legacies of our warfighters, caregivers, and civilians who have stepped forward in defense of our patriotic principles in an effort to capture their stories and to never forget the staggering sacrifices of our nation's finest. This is the Veterans Project podcast, where our legacies are the mission. Here's your host, Tim K.
Welcome to the Veterans Project podcast. My name is Tim K. I almost forgot my name. That would have been really awkward.
Solid start.
I know. This has gotten off to a real solid start.
We're doing it right.
We're doing it right.
We're doing it right.
Well, we've got a very special guest on here. I say that every time, but I feel like this is actually really special.
Oh, give it a rest.
Yeah. No. You're so special.
That's what my mom tells me.
It's not a good thing either. But we've got Kelsi Sheren down here from Canada. Wow. What? Why did you come all the way down here?
Because you asked me to, and I was like, of course I'll come down. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you having you. She's the founder of Brass and Unity, which is an incredible jewelry company. You make pieces of art.
Thank you. I like to think that.
Yeah, you do, definitely. And it's incredible. You're seeing people like Ellen wearing your stuff, Jesse Tyler Ferguson.
Yeah, we got a list, man.
It's like Kevin Hart. What the?
Yeah, that's another story. But yeah, we've got a long list, my friend. We've got a pretty good amount of people I'm pretty fortunate to have worked with and that have given us really the attention that I think that our pieces and our veterans deserve.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Kelsi, you're obviously a veteran of Afghanistan, and we're so thankful for your service. Because one thing that we try to get across to the listeners and to people in this crowd who are following is that it's not just us, right? Like it's not just the Americans. It's the Canadians, it's the British, it's the Australians, and there's a tremendous lineage there in Canada as well.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, we're part of NATO as much as people don't realize that, and it's sad to say that they don't. And I don't know if it's because we just don't publicize it in the similar fashion in what the U.S. does, but we're part of NATO. We've been part of NATO since NATO started, and Canada, we follow in the way that we never want to see anybody suffer. Same with the U.S., but I mean, we're not the ones that are generally going to be the first to jump in, but we'll definitely be there to watch your six for sure.
Yeah.
That's
that's
us.
Awesome. No, we appreciate you guys for that. We as the Texans were like, when did it start? We're already there.
Yeah, we're already there. My mindset's already there. Boots are already on the ground. No, sir, nothing is happening. No, boots are on the ground.
We're there. We're ready.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll defend that Alamo. It's like, guys, it's not the Alamo.
Yeah, sure it is. The second version of
it. We're always ready.
That's right.
Yeah. No, but that's one thing that I appreciate. I think we were talking about it a couple weeks ago. We were talking about how Canadians and Texans were kind of similar in that we're always polite.
I think we
until you make us angry.
If you make us angry, it's going to be always a different reaction. That's for sure.
But you guys then apologize for killing people, and then you kill people, and you're like, "Oh, sorry about that."
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
I think I did like a mixed Australian accent there.
That was. I think you just ran everything besides the United States and like Canada, the U.S., and the British. You're just like, I
mixed it all together.
Let's see what I can make this sound like.
Well, in case you haven't noticed, Kelsi has a very vibrant personality, like her jewelry, very vibrant.
Sorry about that.
Beautiful. No. Yeah. This has already been the most entertaining podcast we've had.
Why not make it entertaining if they're going to listen to us in their sweet, sweet ears while they drive?
That's true. Kelsi, we want to get back to that, of course, but I want to talk to you a little bit about life growing up, because that's an important part of what we do. And, in this project is reintegration is a massive aspect of what we're doing here. Talking about life after the military, but we also love talking about life before and kind of what led you to that choice to join. So I'd love to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I recently, and it's sad to say, but I recently just found out that my grandfather was in World War II. But up until that point, I really did not think anybody else in my family had served. So it was, from my perspective, I was the only one that had served in my family. And so when I joined, how do I explain it? I went to college right out of high school, and during that time, I left to go to college in kind of a quick fashion in the sense that I didn't really know what I was going for, but I knew I just wanted out of the town that I was living in. And that's a small town feel. You just want to,
right.
That kind of thing.
It's pretty common in America as well.
Yeah. We're so alike.
I just want to be your friend.
I just want to be friends. But yeah, so I went, and I've always been a huge history fan. Like, I love everything about history. Right?
Can you imagine?
Oh my God, not you. There's something about our past and the beauty of it, and also just the sadness of everything that we've gone through as a society and as a people in the world. And I'm always interested in it. And so I go to Remembrance Day, which is your Veterans Day.
Right.
And because we have those.
I know. I was quick to say that.
But bam!
Because I had to put that on there, and somebody was like, "What's Remembrance Day?" And I was like,
exact same
"Study
as
history."
You're like, read a book.
Read a book.
Educate yourself.
Are you even a follower of this project?
Clearly not. You're just faking it to be friends. He's like, "Hey Tim, I'm a follower of your project. I just want to be friends with you."
No, you're not. You don't know what Remembrance Day is.
Goddamn. So yeah, no, I went to Remembrance Day as I normally do, and I was on the bus back from college. And I met a lady who had to be late 90s, full chest of medals, Air Force, just this really cool lady. And she was telling me a bit about her story. I said, "Hey, look, like I'd love to know more about what you did and things like that." And she kind of was like, "Yeah, no, I'd love to tell you if you have time." So I sat on the bus, missed my stops, obviously, and well, man,
obviously,
she was so interesting. Everything she was saying, I felt like she had her hooks in me, and I don't know what it was, but I mean, she had served in World War II. She was one of the first female pilots. She was just this really cool, amazing chick. And I felt this weird connection in sense that I had to do something, and I got off the bus. I went to my professors and I'm like, peace, I'm out. I quit college that day. I found out how the paperwork things I had to do, the process.
What year was this?
This was 2007.
Okay.
And I ended up joining the military that week. I signed in, swore in, did the whole shebang within about 2-week time. Like, oh yeah, we'll call you for basic. I got a call like within 3 weeks.
Wow.
I started basic training in the beginning of 2008. And I did the whole basic SQ DP1. And in Canada, we allow women to be on the front lines. A little bit different than you. I know you guys now recently have allowed women to do it if they can follow through and finish the process. But
we actually have some guest questions about that.
But bam,
coming up. Yeah.
Look I love it.
Yeah.
But when we say women on the front lines, we mean artillery, infantry, or armored.
Right.
So we really mean the front lines.
Right. You're really in it.
We're really in it to win it.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and they said, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I want to be infantry because like I fought in Taekwondo my entire life. Like I at that point I was extremely fit. Like I knew I could handle that.
Right.
And I had always competed against men, and I knew that hey, this will just be a fun thing for me. And the sell was that they gave me was, do you love camping? Wait, it gets better. No.
I love that that's Canada's sell, because America's would be like, do you like to kill people?
It's because it would. That's the best part.
That would be.
It would be. So,
especially the Marines.
Right? Oh, the Marines are like, do you love to murder humans? You're like, yes, I do.
Well, then the Marine Corps for you.
For you. So
we'll make it legal.
Right? We'll make it legal. You don't even have to go to jail for this. It was like, do you love camping? And I was like, not really. They're like, well, do you love the outdoors? I was like, you got me. And they're like, well, we're a big family in the military, and we like to hang out with our people, and we like to have that brother.
That's
in
the
arms.
most Canadian thing I've ever heard.
Hurts so bad when I say it out loud. It like hurts my soul because I believed it because I was 18 years old and had no other perspective on the military. Like I said, I did not know I had a grandfather in the military. Super communicative family here, team.
Sounds like it.
We are.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're like, well, you're a little bit small. And I'm like, what, 5 foot's too tiny for you? I can get shorter. Let me just crouch down real small. How's 4'11"? Can we roll with that? No? And they're like, well, we just think you have the best opportunity if you go with something else. And I was like, well, I'm not going in the Air Force because, well, that's self-explanatory. And then also the Navy, and I was like,
shout out to the Air Force.
You know what's up? Hey, you guys. We
love you.
You saved my butt more than a few times over there, so I'll give you the credit for that.
Yes.
I just can't deal with the blue. I don't look good in blue. I'm more of a green. I'm more of a green gal. So then they're like, well, what about artillery? And I was like, cool, let's try that. What's that? And they're like, artillery really just is, big bombs in the ground and shooting over top of people. I was like, cool, I'm into that.
Yeah.
No idea what that means. So I join, go through all basic training, kick that in the butt. And I thought I did well. I mean, I broke some records. It's whatever.
I don't want to brag.
I'm not going to brag, but my sweet sit-up skills.
The
sweet
looking Guinness Book of World
Records.
Oh,
we're not that cool. God, wouldn't that be cool? That's a goal.
That would make a book.
That's a book.
Yeah.
Oh, segue.
Don't you have one coming out?
Oh, are we?
Let's stay. No, not yet.
Come
no.
on,
we'll
do
that later.
You got to keep me on track.
I'm bad about that. I'm going to keep you on track, but I'm also going to take you off track.
You're bad about that. Then we're both.
Yeah.
We're hoops.
I'm a terrible host. I'm not good at this.
You're great at this. You're doing fantastic
at
this. You're welcome.
So far.
So you're just reaching for compliments now.
Thank you.
So I joined, man, and I did. I did basic. I did the SQ. I did the DP1. I did the whole artillery training, and in my mind, I was accepting a job and a pathway that I knew I wanted to do. I knew that I was passionate about helping, and I knew that I could do the job. And that was the number one thing, was obviously they weren't sure if I was going to be able to do the job, being my size and my weight at the time, and really just dealing with the male aspect of going into a man's trade which
Right.
super sexist. Like, thanks guys. Way to give me the best start you could. We're not sure you can do this. Okay, cool. I'm definitely doing it now.
Well, it's better than it would be here, which would be like, you can't do this.
Leave me alone. I want to try. Nope, wrong parts. Sorry. So yeah, it went all right. I ended up having some rough times on the, I think it was DP1 when we were doing just like the ruck marches and stuff like that. I ended up like taking the skin off both of my bottom of my feet. And they're gonna recourse, and then somehow I convinced my COs to let me wear flip flops on the gun line.
Oh wow!
so I could graduate on time. So I'm not sure how that works.
So polite in Canada.
It was amazing. I got to do a full week of marching in the best flip flops
Wow.
in full uniform. Going to the mess hall and just the stairs.
Yeah.
So that was great. So we did that. It was fantastic, and I ended up becoming an artillery gunner, and we went from the small guns and training over to the M777s with the 155 millimeter howitzer, and when on graduation day we had a staff member from Quebec who spoke no English come over to me and go, you and you're all coming with us, and we're all deploying in April, so get ready to learn French and meet your new unit in a week.
That's wild.
Cool.
So why in particular French? Did everybody in that unit speak French real well? Or
Yes.
Was that the first language in that unit, or
So
what?
let me school you on Canada real quick. All
I'm
right.
gonna need to be schooled.
Okay, let's do it.
You're my first Canadian.
Oh God, I feel so special.
You should.
My mommy was right.
One day you'll be on the
One
Veterans
day
Project,
I'll
and
be
you'll
on
be
the
the first Canadian.
And I'll do it. So
Not a compliment, by the way.
Not at
I'm
all.
not that cool.
stop. So yeah. So how Canada works is our second language is French. Technically, our first language is English, but
I know that part. It's just surprising to me that it's so
Quebec
predominant.
is extremely predominant because I was posted to Quebec.
Okay.
So I'm from Ontario, the province beside it, or i.e. the state beside it. I'm the province beside it, and bilingual has always been like in an elementary school and high school. You learn French all the way up, kind of deal. But it's in the sense that you don't learn it because it's more like your grammar. You don't actually learn how to speak it unless you have like a French speaking home kind of deal. So I had no idea what I was walking into. I knew like yes, no toaster, and I was like, this is gonna be sweet.
Yes, no toaster.
Right. And so they're like, yeah, you're getting posted to Vaquetse, and your unit only speaks French. There's like one or two that can say like hi, but that's what you're gonna get.
Wow.
I was like, cool. So they're like, yeah, we'll see you there next week. I get there, rough.
Yeah.
It was a rough go, man.
I'm sure.
I walked in my unit. Literally, even my sergeant did not know how to speak English. So I was like, how am I going to communicate? Like, are we doing like hand signals? Like, are we signing? Like, what's going to work here? And now I think about that, I wonder how sign language works in French. It's probably perfectly fine. I don't know why that just came to mind. But really, though, I had to learn French. It was kind of throw me in the deep end, learn how to swim. And it was a quick turnaround. I was able to speak enough.
That's not a quick language to learn either.
No, it's interesting. I mean, if you know Spanish, you can kind of click into French easily, but I didn't. I did that in high school as well, but not enough.
Right.
So I knew some basic words enough to kind of ask for things, but then the unit I was with, the guys were good. I mean, at first it was more like hey, there's a small blonde fresh meat kind of deal, and then once you kind of put your foot down, then they level themselves out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I just tried. And I would just look at my sergeant and I would do my best. Every other word, I was like a small toddler learning language again. Every other word, I was like, what's this in French? What's this in French? And he's like, oh my God, Burns, please stop talking to me. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And let me help me. So yeah, that was, and I got posted there. A couple other guys got posted as well there. And I was with Troop Alpha and the 5 RALC regiment out of Vaquetse for the artillery troop, and that's who I deployed with.
Deployed to Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
Yeah.
What part? Kandahar first, and then we went out. Our guns went out to we went out to the Maiwan district because there was a small FOB out there called FOB Ramrod, which had some of the 101st were working out of there.
Right. I'm familiar.
Yes. And so, as you know, it's a very small FOB. And I guess they had an artillery troop out there that was Canadian as well. And the Americans didn't have enough guns. So they said, we're going to send another Canadian unit with you.
Wow.
So the rest
we didn't have enough guns.
I don't know how that even was physically possible.
How did that happen?
You did have a lot of Oakleys, unnecessary amount of sunglasses. like micro
We're
scratches.
Oakley sponsored.
Oh, and sponsored by Oakley.
Yeah.
I know, really though.
This killing machine sponsored you
That's
by
right.
Oakley.
It's brilliant. It's like you guys got to have the best vision so you can
Yes.
see exactly the targets you're hitting
Yep.
or not hitting.
Yeah.
So yeah, they needed some guns, and so the guns were already out there. They needed a troop. They sent us out. We spent about 3 days in CAF doing the overview of what's going on in the country and what we were going to be doing, walking into. They give us a fair warning. These guys are from Texas, so their accents are fairly thick. You guys are going to have to attempt to speak English. Yeah, it was a good time.
I am now pumping my fist behind the mic.
Are you? I see it. There it is.
Yep.
I love it.
I'm so stoked.
Right? So we got there. We rolled in, and right off the bat, it was going to be a push and pull issue because, radio comm checks, just like the tower checks, we were going to have issues because most of the guys really did not speak English in the sense that like they weren't being ignorant. They were never taught. And well, some of them just didn't care to learn either. So it was one of those things. So,
Right.
So we had a small little corner of the fob that was ours. And that was our deal. We had two M777s there. And those were the guns that were there before. So, we had to do the whole overview, go through, break it down, all its small, tiny, tiny BBs and clean it all out, make sure it was good to go. And we were ready to rock.
Yeah. How was that? How did you like interacting with the Americans?
I was good, though, because
you understood English so well.
I understood English. And also I was accepting of the fact that we were going to be working with, another country. Like, and not speaking for my whole unit, but speaking for some of them. They're not going to appreciate this, but I hate to break it to you. They did not care for the Americans. And in the sense that they didn't care for the Americans, but they didn't care that they didn't speak their language. And if you speak to any Canadian, as hard as it is to say, Quebec's a different animal.
Right. I've kind of heard that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's not just coming from me. I mean, it's a different province. They do schooling differently. They do a lot of things differently. And they didn't particularly appreciate the fact that they had to speak a different language for somebody else.
It almost sounds a little bit more like Paris, like where there's that kind of pride there. Like,
yeah,
it's
there's
almost
super
cockiness to where
oh yeah,
you like feel like you're coming into the room. It's like, you better know our language or I'm not going to talk to you kind of thing.
That's exactly what happened to me. It was 100% that. And I hate to be the person to say that, and they might not like that, but get over it. If you would have made the effort, then maybe I wouldn't be talking to everybody. But hey, listen, there were some that were super dope and really great, but let's be honest, the Vandus are known for the Vandus. The French are known. Like the Quebec units are known, and in whatever way you know them, but they're known.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was different, but I mean, comm checks were great. Just to screw with the Americans, though, I would the first time I went on the OP tower, we had to do 4-hour shifts because you know how they had the towers.
Right.
Well, you guys had like 3 towers, and we only had to do 1. Because we were a smaller unit for sure. And so that was our responsibility. We had 2 people on at 4-hour shifts. And so the first time I went up, just because I could, I just answered it in French. Because I just wanted the reaction, and the comeback was amazing. You want to preep that out there? We don't speak that language here. I'm gonna do that comm check again, and I'm like, just to see the reaction I got, and it was pretty good. And then I was screwing with them, and I was like, hey, yeah, no.
I love your Texan drawl. That was pretty good.
Hey, what can I say? My daddy's a truck driver. I've been to Texas plenty of times.
Okay. So you've been here. You know it. I
know what's up.
Yeah. So what was it like? First being on missions and being in an all male unit like that.
It was weird because the guns were one thing. I mean, we had an officer who was a female. She was not on the guns. She was obviously doing comms and things like that, and calling the radio, calling the fire missions. Sorry, and she was good. I mean, she was solid. She definitely kicked me into gear to make sure that I was equipped to do what I needed to be doing, and it was definitely helpful. She was great to work with, but it was. Here's the thing. I don't let anybody push me around.
Right.
And I'm not going to let anybody talk to me a certain way, whether you're superior or not. And I'm not going to let you, give me less opportunity, or I'm not going to let you, basically just push me around. It's not going to kick because it's not going to work with me.
Right.
So I put my foot down fairly early on. And due to that, there was a lot of pushback on just not being that person in the unit that they would rather. They thought they were, less than because they had a female that was smaller on the guns. And even though I could throw those rounds around, I loaded those M777s, those 100-pound rounds that weighed the exact same as me. I got them on the tray. I pushed them up. I do the deal.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it wholeheartedly, and I'm gonna make sure that I'm not just another body on a gun. I'm gonna be that person that you're gonna look to in a firefight and know that I've got you.
Right.
I've got you. So That was a bit of a push and pull, though. I won't lie. That was harder than I expected it to be. Especially because the language, they could just talk about you behind your back right to your face, and you're like, cool, man, thanks. High five. Like, we're besties. And then he could just be like, no.
They would have already been talking about you because you're a woman.
Oh,
and now
all day.
they're going to be talking about you in French behind your back. You know?
All day long. All day long.
It happens down here in San Antonio with Spanish, for sure.
Oh, yeah, you guys
I just hear gringo, and then I'm like,
man, God,
this
I'm the white guy.
conversation is going downhill fast.
You're like, and it's over, and that sucks.
I heard like what I thought were 10 cuss words in Spanish.
You know, like I know 3 of them, so I'm for sure those were in there. But
Yeah.
it's hard because as I started to speak the language, I did start to understand when they were saying things that he shouldn't be saying,
Right.
and I would call them out, and that just made it worse. So it was almost better if I just didn't even bother.
Yeah. It is interesting to think about because in a lot of ways it's like that whole, you know, like I think of Jackie Robinson often when I think about breaking the color barrier in baseball. And he was a very strong personality. And like the owner, you know, came to him really quickly. And I can't remember the name. This is like sacrilege in America, not remembering the owner of the Dodgers.
You're just
during
hurting
that time.
yourself right now.
I am really hurting myself.
My goodness.
And I played baseball in college. So this is really embarrassing.
Wow.
Yeah, so he basically came to, you know, Jackie, and I remember him saying, you know, like, hey, listen, everything that's powerful about your personality and like everything that works for you, like we love that. We love that part of, you know, of who you are and what you do. But you're going to have to calm that down like a ton. And if you try to fight back, you will lose 100%.
And that's the hardest part is you're like telling somebody who their personality is,
Right.
This is what they are. This is who they are. Tone it down.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
No, it
It
doesn't.
just makes it worse.
Yeah, especially in a headstrong, you know, area like that, the military, especially coming into, you know, a military unit and, you know, and having guys like that in predominantly male geared positions. And then all of a sudden you're there and it's like, oh, okay, not only is she a female, but she doesn't speak our language well.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Yeah, it was. I really did that to myself. I mean, you know,
it is an interesting dynamic for me, though, because I did serve in an infantry unit, so I could see where that would complicate things.
Well,
like
you can see it, right? Because right off the bat, you're going to look at the size of me. I'm 5 foot. Just if anybody's listening, I'm 5 foot.
I'm already saying, you can't do what I do, little girl.
Can't do what I can do, little girl.
And my podcast is over.
And that's it. You just got me too'd so hard, not even funny. But no, really though. I mean, I can appreciate that. Like I can understand that, right? Like you see a 5 foot, 115 pound blonde coming at you, you're not going to be intimidated by me in the slightest. You don't know my background though, and you don't know what I'm capable of.
Right.
And so every single time I went into a situation, it had turned into a prove yourself, prove yourself. Prove yourself.
Right.
And then once I proved myself, it still wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So,
but which probably continues to drive to make you better, though.
And that's the thing. But that's the one thing I can truly say that like my parents did a fantastic job on was that whole no quit, that whole like don't let anything hold you back, like that stereotypical parent. Like I'm not going to sit up here and be like I had bad parents. My life was real hard because it wasn't.
No.
Like my parents were dope and they pushed me
so
hard.
So mine, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what creates a certain type of person. And as hard as that is for some people to see, that's just the way it was. So the second you said, no, I don't think you're going to be capable of this, I'm like, watch me.
Yeah.
You're going to eat your words and I'm going to make you eat them. And I'm going to make you eat them right in front of my face. And you're going to look me right in the eye when I'm lifting that 200-pound guy doing my march with him because I can and I will because I have tree trunks. And I got no shame in these thighs. I got no shame in these because these trunks, these things kept me moving. They got the job done. So, but I can appreciate that. You guys are big. You guys aren't exactly like, I don't know what you're feeding your people down here, what's in your meat, but I'm
pure
telling
enchiladas.
You. Enchiladas and antibiotics.
And steak, yeah,
you guys have got you got some big dudes, man.
Yeah.
And so standing up against that, I can understand. Like I can appreciate that view. So I didn't get offended by it.
But at the same time, I will say this. The dynamic of that is far less important when you realize what the community's like. Because, you know, being amongst the special operations guys, I found to be most of those dudes that could kill me in about 5 seconds are usually about 6 inches shorter than me. And they don't, especially the special operations side, like it doesn't work out too well for you if you're tall or
no,
big.
You don't want to be big. You want to be able to
you were really
hide.
Small. Like,
but I was like,
yeah.
I'm like not quite. So here, how is it? They said in Canada, I don't know if it's the truth, so don't fact check me on this, but
I
think
will
it's
not.
like
I don't
4
fact check
foot-
anything, so that's
4
perfect.
This
My podcast is going down again.
Oh gosh, I think like 4'6" is considered like a smaller person, a small person. I don't know the political correct.
Oh, what do you
term.
mean, a midget?
Oh.
Oh. No, but I'm from Texas, and we just say those
Well,
things.
you can say those things. I got you.
I was in an infantry unit.
I feel you. I got
Yes,
you.
yes.
So most of the guys listening to this are jarheads all day long.
Oh, there are people that are listening that will get offended, but
And it's apologies. Listen,
Yeah.
here's the thing. I'm short. I'm not far off your height. I'm barely 5 foot. Like when you look on my driver's license, it says 4'11".
you're not that short, though.
Well,
Yeah.
I make up for it in loud and just obnoxious hand gestures. It's great.
The way you talk, I would think you were 6'5" for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. You wouldn't even know it. See that? But that's it.
Yeah.
You put up or you shut
It's
up.
about what you can do. It doesn't matter your height. It
Exactly.
doesn't matter any of that.
Exactly.
And that's not even for me, like, even saying somebody was a dwarf or somebody smaller like that, it's not, that to me is not demeaning because some of the toughest people that I've ever met
Or like the smallest
are
people.
like the smallest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
Strong.
Jinx.
Oh, jinx. Oh, you can't talk the rest of the time. It's going to be awkward.
This is going to be a really silent podcast for the next 5 to 10. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, really, it was, it's interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
But like I said, I never took offense to it because I always knew that I could do what I was being asked to do. And so my thought was I can either sit here and I can argue with them, or I can sit here and I can, talk shit and I can, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, you either put up or you shut up.
Right.
And I put up and I did it and I held my own. And I think almost everybody I've ever worked with, including the British, which I worked heavily with the Black Watch, I think you could pick up the phone and call in any one of them and they will tell you the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's powerful though. That's reputation right there.
I try,
And that's
man.
everything.
I
Yeah.
try. I mean, I wanted to be, I didn't want to be that person. Like, there's what we call in the military, at least we call them in Canada, we call them pumps. You know, there's those guys out there, those girls out there, there's those people out there who they're going to get somebody killed.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Got that on the guy side though, too.
Dude, you got it on the men's side hard.
I saw in basic training, guys, where I was just like, oh, wow, that's going to be a bullet catcher for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That's
what you call them?
So we call them bullet catchers.
So we call them pumps.
Oh, okay.
Pardon the language. My apologies. I know I have to correct that.
I'm muting
I'm
that.
so sorry. You can edit that. But that's what we call them. We call them pumps. We call them poop pumps. Is that better? Is that more politically correct? It doesn't have that ring to it.
It's not about the political correctness.
No, that's right. But it's true though. Like in basic, you have
Yeah.
those guys. And I don't know if you had this, but we had a guy, no names, but we had a guy who was like, we were all chatting at the beginning and he's like, I joined the military because I'm really good at Halo.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, my soul died inside. I'm like, you're what? He's like, I'm like great at video games. And I'm like, cool. Within like 2 weeks, he VR'd into that real fast.
Right, and also like the very fact that you said that to me makes me very scared.
Well, I don't want to be beside you.
No,
You're not.
I'm definitely not kicking down a door with you behind me.
No, and I'm not letting you kick it down either because you're going to sit there and try for hours.
You're talking about a 0.4 second reaction time with a guy like who thinks this is a video game. That's great.
I know, and
so confident. Right now.
was super confident, and so I was really pumped when he VR'd out, and I was really pumped when some of the other ones VR'd out as well.
Yeah.
Even if I knew they weren't going to be working with me, just the fact that they were wearing the same uniform, got the same sort of respect, just really irked me.
Right, I totally get that.
Yeah.
So back to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Were you scared when you first went over, or were you like, man, I'm pumped, I'm ready to do this?
So
like,
this is what's similar about Canada and the U.S. They're training in the sense of we do a lot of the similar training, like the time frames. I mean, like a 2 week, 4 on 4 off kind of deal. My staff was solid.
Yeah.
Okay, my sergeant. Well, I think he's a warrant officer now. As far as I'm being told, he's a warrant officer in Gagetown. So shout out to Sergeant LeBlanc, Marc LeBlanc. He saved me a lot.
Such a beautiful accent.
I know, right?
I love it.
Oh,
yeah.
you want me to speak in French the whole time? Yeah, it'll be dirty French like Quebec. It won't be France, so it won't be the pretty
okay.
French. So
right.
you don't want to hear that.
Never mind.
Right? I changed my mind immediately. But yeah, Sergeant LeBlanc was solid. He knew his stuff, and he made sure that when we were before we deployed, like he would take us to the range on extra times, you know, level 4 shooting, like just making sure that we could hear clear house as well if we needed to. Even though we were going to be on the guns,
it has to become instinctual.
It has to become second nature, muscle memory, and he knew that. And
otherwise, you jack it up because you will feel fright.
You will, and you don't want to feel that. You want it to just shut off, that light switch to go off, and just keep moving.
Right.
And he was really great about that. And I will say, you know, as much as I, you know, really annoyed him and irritated him and got under his skin when he first met me, because I was like, "Hey, it's Sasha."
I can't picture you annoying
right?
anybody.
I know. Here's the thing: you either like me or you hate me, and if you hate me, then I'm not your type of person, and I just turn it off now.
Yeah,
turn it off now because you're gonna just. It's a waste
I
of
like
time.
it a lot, but I also could tell like my personality. I'm either
I'm a lot.
I'm a lot. I am too.
But you know what? The people I find who are a lot get shit done.
And are a lot of good things.
And we don't take no for an answer.
No,
and that's why we are able to do what we're able to do.
Yes.
So I think as much as people tell me to tone it down and, you know, there's a time and place for that. I got that a lot in school. There's a time and place for that, Kelsi.
I got that a lot from my parents.
Right? I hear you. Oh, man. You think I got the principal calling, Kelsi won't shut up in class. Mm-hmm. And listen.
I was homeschooled, so my dad was my principal.
Oh, you poor soul.
Yeah.
Did you dance with your mom at prom?
Yes, I did.
Oh, did you get her the little flowers?
Am I getting made fun of on my own podcast?
Oh, I think it's happening. Was your dog the doorman?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. It's true.
No offense to all those homeschoolers out there.
No,
That's
I don't think
choice.
I don't think the followers actually knew that until this moment. So I just admitted this to you. But
Oh.
you admitted that you're Canadian. So
you can't hold that against me. I can't help where I was born, and I got no shame in being Canadian. You know why? Because we have maple syrup.
That's true.
So suck it.
Yeah, and you got really big trees.
We got the best trees. Our air smells great. Nobody's bombing us.
And I really do want to go to Vancouver. That's true.
They're not because we'll just like give them a handshake and like a bunch of money and be like, live here for free now. And I need to clarify something real quick. We're on the Canadian topic.
Yes, go
We
ahead.
do not have free health care. Everybody hear that out in podcast land. We pay monthly for our health care. Shock and awe. I know I just crushed everybody's soul. Yeah, I know. It's weird, right? Well, in certain provinces.
Does it just come out of your paycheck?
No, like in British Columbia on the West Coast where I live, yeah, you got to pay like a monthly deal, like, just like you would any other bill. But in other provinces, it comes out of like your annual or whatever. But you know, so if somebody tells me one more time we have free healthcare, I'm gonna boot them because I'm like, no, why? Why do you have this perception of us?
I know.
Well, your teeth are all great. It's like we don't have dental either. We pay.
The British have free healthcare too.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that. I'm not going to speak for them. I'm going to leave that one right out because I'm going to get
covered so many British guys. I'm definitely done in England.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, you're going to get phone calls. You start seeing that, like, dash 011.
Hey, remember how we were... Hey, mate, remember how we were sharing your stuff? Now we're not doing it anymore.
Yeah, remember how we're helping you out real big? Well, guess what? No.
It's over.
Yeah, you're talking about my teeth.
Yeah.
Like you know my teeth.
You don't know
you
my
don't
teeth,
know
mate.
my teeth. You don't know what they've been through. Like, just have a full identity for their teeth.
We're so done. I love how you were their teeth's voice. That was amazing.
You got to have a teeth voice. You got to have a voice for everything. And here's the other thing. You don't think we don't sell over there? Oh, goddamn. I'm going to get the phone calls. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to get them. And the best part is when they get frustrated, it'll be the Scottish that'll call. Mm-hmm. I don't understand them.
And no. Especially once you start working up like north of Manchester, it's done.
Over.
Oh, no. I go into the Manchester fire station to cover one of the guys.
How'd that work out?
Well, it was great for the photos.
Oh, no.
No, but shout out to my buddy Nathan Ryder, who's
out.
part of the Scottish. I can't even remember the name of the divisions because they're all hard. Yeah, something. No, I don't want to say that because if I'm wrong, they're going to get very offended.
Oh, they get super upset. So if it's not the Highlanders,
we're sorry about that.
Blame it on me.
Yes, I will.
Blame it on the Canadians.
But going up there, as soon as I walked into the fire station, I was like, oh, this isn't the same country.
Oh, no.
I was in London before that, and I walked there, and I was like, oh, this is not the same.
They're raised a whole different way, my friend.
Yes, totally. And I had a very hard time picking up on certain, and they were the kindest, friendliest. Like that fire station letting me in was huge.
Oh, of course it is. That's giant.
Yeah, because for them, you have to go through 10 layers of red tape, and they basically X'd out all that, and we're just like, oh, we'd love to have you here.
Well, you're doing it for the right reasons, man, and that's why people are receptive to you, and you need to know that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I love those guys, but I could not understand a lot of it. I was like, and Nate was one of the definitely
slower talkers and better speaking English.
Exactly. But some of the others, like some of the guys who served in the Royal Marines that were in the station, like I was like, ooh, I really cannot understand.
Oh, I got somebody for you to interview then.
Yeah, great.
James, he'll hit that.
Is he like that?
No, James is English, but his you can understand him well. He's been in Canada enough. He met a Canadian and married her. So he's a firefighter too, which is ironic. That's the guy we just did that
awesome.
Lovely Point Roberts fire department there in Washington. Those Americans that are actually all Canadian volunteers, which is interesting.
Wow.
I don't know how that works, but that
is interesting. Yeah.
Hey, they're great. They're solid dudes. But yeah, that language barrier. It's weird because they're speaking English, but is it?
Is it really?
But is it?
But is it more English than we're speaking? I need you to switch your brain around a little bit here.
Yeah.
I think maybe they're more English than we are. And then we're like, hey, you guys aren't speaking it right. And they're like, really? We're the founders of
they're
this.
like literally, we should all be talking like them. But
yes.
We just...
No, it got way...
America.
Yeah.
But then...
we transform everything. We're
America.
Yeah. Texas is times 10 that.
We're like,
hey, Americans do this. We're going to do it bigger and better.
Did you listen to... Do you watch Jimmy Fallon at all?
Yes.
Okay, did you watch the one where he came down to Texas recently and was interviewing...
Matthew McConaughey was on it, so yes, of course I did.
All right.
Yeah, and Chip and Joanna Gaines were on it, so of course I was watching.
Yeah, of course you were. So I was watching that, and I totally forgot the culture of Texas. Like, it'd been a minute.
Okay, but he's like times 10 of us.
Oh
even,
my God! Did you hear him talking about the things he was talking about?
Nobody knows what he was talking about except Matthew McConaughey.
The only thing I caught from that was,
I want to take you to a dream world, and I want you to feel the fire.
The guys.
Like, Matthew, what does that mean? That is not a Texas thing. That is a Matthew thing. And then people will be like, you guys are so wild, man. And I'm like, no, that's Matt.
No,
that's
you don't
Matt.
Understand. That
it's
is
not
us.
That's Matt.
That's Matt. And just the whole, when he's like, I was sitting there, I was looking at my husband, and when he said this, because I was like, did they just let him say that on TV? When he goes, if you're not like us, keep on driving by. I'm like, oh my God.
No, it doesn't matter if we're allowed to say that.
Yeah.
He's going to say
that. But that
was the most Texan thing ever.
Was that though, right?
No, we're all like in our living rooms and we're like, woohoo! Yeah!
Yeah. You're like, way to put it out there for us, buddy. Way to look after the Texans. And then the rest of us are going, oh my God.
Texans were literally overturning tables when they heard that. They were so pumped.
You guys might have just won the Super Bowl sometime.
You're like, we're like, yes, he really represents us.
You guys are like that. I think it's the Allstate commercial where that's you ever seen that one where the discount where they got the guy in the van and the other guy rolls up with like a popped collar and like a green Mustang or something, and he just looks at him and he's like, "You want to go, bro? You want to go? Woo!" Just
that's Matthew McConaughey.
That's Matthew McConaughey.
He's a more polite version of that though.
But in
he's like
one of his cars. Whatever he sponsored.
He's in his car in the Lincoln Navigator.
The Lincoln Navigator.
I want you.
Oh yeah, he just got like click click.
Yeah.
He's got like the clicks.
I want you to take the high eye, not the low eye.
You're like, what does that mean?
What is that? I wish I knew.
I don't know what that means.
I'm looking in a dictionary right now because I want to be
like you. There's no low high and high eye. What does it mean?
There's no high eye. There's no low eye. Where is it?
We need to shoot him a message and be like, listen, you need to come on and just explain to us half of the language that you speak, because what you say sounds like you're on an LSD trip.
Oh, yeah. And we need to get him on the podcast because nobody would have any idea what he's talking about.
It would be the best.
He's a lot like, from that standpoint, he's a lot like my good friend. And I'm going to say that first so I don't insult him and he'll kill me.
Right?
Good friend Rudy Reyes.
Okay.
Where he'll be talking about things and you're just like, dude, you are on another planet right now.
You are checked out.
Yeah, he's like, every vibration of my muscle makes me more equidistant to my success. And you're just like, all right, I see your body and I totally get that because it's beautiful, but also you're scaring me right now.
You're chiseled and terrifying all at the same time. I don't know how to respond to such things.
How did we get here?
I don't know. We tangented. Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay.
Let's bring it back. What were we talking about?
Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did we go off that?
I don't know, but people will be very entertained.
I hope. Well, this is what we're going for, team. Okay,
that's why the project is so much better, because I can just edit it and then put it down. But now people are going to really... No, I think this is actually better.
This is better. You want honesty, you want truth, and you want openness with
and
people.
Matthew McConaughey, we want that.
We want Matthew. I want Matthew McConaughey the shirt off. Afghanistan.
Don't listen to this.
I know. When you get married, you're not married yet, but when you get married, you will then sit down and go, who's your free pass? You got to have that conversation. I'll be straight up.
It's important to you.
His is Rihanna. Well, it's also ScarJo. So, I mean, he's got 2, so I'll give him that.
I love Rihanna.
Oh, doesn't everybody?
No.
I'm sorry to hear that.
When I say that, sometimes guys don't get it, but I love her voice, and I just love her.
Personality is a lot. Holds a lot of water, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, she's beautiful, but
she's stunning.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying.
She's who I want to be when I grow up.
You want to be Rihanna.
I just want to be Rihanna. I don't know how I'm going to make that happen, but I'm going to work real hard on that. It's like, I know what's wrong with my face, but I'm going to take it back. I'm going to work on that.
I like who you are.
Thanks.
Kelsi.
I'm all right.
Yeah.
I think I'm okay sometimes.
No. Yeah, I'd rather have you on the podcast.
Oh, please. Give it a rest. Now everybody knows you're lying, and we just don't need to start off on that.
That would be a weird podcast. So
Can
the
you
Veterans
imagine?
Project presents
That's
Rihanna.
No, that would be my podcast about to crash because there's so many people tuning into that.
People are like, "What is happening right now?"
I know. Okay, we're getting off track. So Afghanistan. Let's bring it back. So Afghanistan, the land of the sand.
Yeah.
So yeah, Afghan was. Here's the thing: is I was on the guns from the get, right? So when we got there, we did our our 3 days. What's going on in the country, like I mentioned, that kind of deal. And we go, you guys are going out here. We get out to Maywan. We're on the guns. Everything's good. Everybody's getting set up. Getting comfortable. Moving in. I roll up. I look into the side of our tent, and there's a noose hanging from it. I'm going, is this a sick joke?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure was.
Oh.
I'm like,
wow. What was the joke?
Tell me, right? I don't know. You guys are the Yanks.
It's not funny when you don't understand the punchline. What was this?
I don't know what the joke was, but they thought it was hilarious.
Was this like, this is where you would have been if we hadn't come into World War II?
Right.
And you're like, we're not British.
We're like, we're not British, but we also saved you guys so many times. So you want to get into that pissing match? I'll go real hard on that.
Now this podcast is officially over.
Yeah,
and that's 90% of my listener.
Yeah. No, exactly. But so yeah, it was just like a weird. It was just a weird situation, right? And we move into our tents, and like our troop stays in a tent. We all stay, our gun troop each has its own tent and whatnot. Officers are in the separate one, and the
pretty similar to us.
Yeah, similar sort of stuff. So we get on the guns, we do our thing, we get set up, then we got to play with the Excalibur round.
What is that?
You don't know what the Excalibur round is, and you're a U.S. Oh my god!
I know, yeah.
So this beauty shoots up to 40K, GPS guided, used for VIP targets. It's pinpoint accurate.
I wasn't artillery though.
I know, but you should know those because we shoot them over top of you.
Okay, all right.
You should know what's coming over top.
I don't know what went over the top of me. I was just like, okay, kill them. Yeah, go artillery.
Yay!
Yay! Can we go shoot stuff now?
Yeah, exactly. So there was pretty cool. We have some cool tricks up our sleeves though too. Okay, so don't you worry about us. Don't you worry about us.
Yeah.
So we got that. We were playing with that for a little bit, and then we just started off on what we're gonna be doing every day, and just wait for fire missions, and then we just would pull. Just fire. And we would shoot for the Marines in the area. We would shoot for any of the Special Forces in there. We would shoot for anybody that was within the distance of about 40 up to 45K. So whatever that is in American miles.
I don't know.
You guys really need to get on the rest of the world with the kilometers and
the driving.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know.
Every time I go down to Washington, I'm like driving. I'm speeding excessively.
Wait, do you switch there?
No, well, because I live on the border. I live above Washington.
So you switch. Which side do you drive on?
We drive on the normal, we drive like Americans with little less accidents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, in the sense that like our kilometers and our miles, we don't have that on our cars. And
yeah.
So,
I don't know why we do that. It's the most Texan thing ever. Like, we're going to do this, and then people are like, that doesn't make sense.
Literally nobody else in the world.
Just to be different.
Well, yeah, couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did that. We got set up, kind of rolled into that, got comfortable, and it was good. I mean, we picked our cots. Everybody picked their cot.
Yeah.
And we had plywood walls between everybody, which was kind of nice. You know what's not nice?
What?
The fact that you can hear everything in there.
Mm-hmm.
With a bunch of men.
Oh,
you put two and two together.
And you're a woman.
You put two and two together, my friend.
Yeah, that's got to be interesting.
It's a trip.
Mm-hmm,
you learn real quick to just be like, I don't hear nothing. So
where are my earbuds?
Right? Yeah. So it was good. We got sorted, and then we got to I got introduced to what you guys call a chow hall.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me sounds like a bunch of puppies going to eat
food.
I call it like a mess hall.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned about American cuisine in a different level and what we were going to be eating.
Yeah.
So that was new to the body. That was a shock to the system for a few days, but figured that out. And then for me, it was a little bit different than the rest of my unit. To be honest, we got a call. My sergeant got a call and came down from high up that there was going to be an operation taking place, that they would need a female on to go with a different country. And to me, that was just like, all right, where do you want me to go? Like, what's up next? And to be frank with you, we hadn't done a whole lot of firing at that point. We were kind of getting bored, twiddling thumbs. They're just waiting for something to happen. And we would shoot a lot of loom, a ton, just to light up sky for people to see and whatnot. And so that was all fine. And we could see, that lovely highway that nobody wants to drive on there. That one that's the death highway, basically. And it wasn't far from our fob. So we watch things go in and out, and we keep an eye on things. And we had Afghan workers come in and were building stuff for us. So, there's a lot of moving parts going. So things were happening, but the guns weren't being fired as much as we were under the impression they were going to need to be.
Right.
So people were getting a little bit bored. So we got into routines, workout routines, and each person gets this time. And because there were so little females on the fob, there was a shower time. You got 1 hour a day. This was your slot, and that kind of deal. So I got the call, and he pulls me off to the side, and in his broken English roundabout way, goes, we got people who want you to go with the British right now, and in the next couple of days, and they want to take you and go on an operation, and I don't really know where you're going right now. As far as I know I know that you're going to be going. I'm trying to get you off of this. I want you to stay on the guns. I don't think that you need to be going. I think they can take somebody else. But, he can only pull so many strings, being the sergeant, not being a colonel or, anybody up there.
Right.
So he goes, well, let me look into this some more. We'll see what's happening. So I get a call they're saying, yep, she's definitely going, and she's definitely going to be going with the British. And so the Black Watch were the unit that I was going to be serving alongside, and the Black Watch are known. Those guys are solid.
Yeah, I've heard a
dudes.
lot about them.
Solid dudes. So I was excited at the prospect. I mean, when I got there, I wasn't scared. Like we were talking about that, like that fear feeling. It wasn't that. I didn't have that. I was just excited. They do a really good job of just telling you, like, you're going over to better people's lives. You're going over to help people, the women and children. We're going to go over there and hopefully stop, the rape of women and, get women to vote and have all of those rights, that we have. Basically westernize a country that doesn't want us there.
Yeah. Wait a second. That sounds impossible.
Oh, and it is.
No.
Exactly.
Wait, is it? Yes, it is.
Yeah, and that's what's terrifying about the whole prospect of going over there. That's the biggest fear, is that on some level, these people don't want you there.
No, and they don't want to change. In a lot of ways for us, and
we can't understand that.
Yeah, it was like our Vietnam in a lot of ways. In that you're going to help a people that the majority, and not to say that some Vietnamese did not want to help, because they did. But the majority probably doesn't really just
the few and far between. Well, they're raised one way.
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
And to make a transition into democracy is a it's hundreds of years process.
And that's what going into Iraq. I mean, look what happened there.
Yeah.
We
you cannot instill democracy into someone's ideology,
and you cannot instill a certain way of religion and life into somebody's that have been going for hundreds. I mean.
Thousands.
Who's ever beat the Afghanis? Who?
Yeah.
Who?
Nobody.
Exactly.
Alexander turned around.
Yeah, because smart.
Yeah.
Because smart.
Like, oh, hey. Well, my men are about to kill me, and those mountains look huge.
Yeah, giant mountains, not climbing those.
Yeah.
But that's it, though. I mean, and so you go, you do your thing, and so it came down. Yeah, I'm going. And they said, Chinook's coming to get you tomorrow. Pack your stuff, get ready to roll, and then we'll see you when you get back. And that kind of pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah.
My guys were not pumped.
Really?
I got to go play war. They got to sit on their butt.
Yeah.
They did not
like
that.
the Black Watch are doing work.
Oh, Black Watch are doing
heavy work, yeah.
Work.
Right, yeah.
They are like... That song, that work, that should be written about them, because these guys are solid. No, serious. These guys know what's up, man, and they move smooth.
Why do you think I went to England to cover some of the? Like, that's important for me. Is that narrative, especially in southern Afghanistan, where a lot of that's not talked about, and that was my first experience with the project. Was really, one of my first before I started this was I became good friends with this guy Jack Mizone. And there was this documentary made called Jack, A Soldier Story. It was made by Ben Anderson. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. But he followed Jack around, and Jack was just a warrior. And I became good friends with him through that. I sent him a message on Facebook or whatever, saw a story, and asked him a lot of questions. It was before I went to Iraq. So, I'm watching this documentary and I'm like going, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like they're going through hell down there.
Oh yeah.
And, in Helmand and, and there's no, except special operations, there's really no American presence there. And that was really why I went to England, was to get a sense of that narrative. Because
you knew they were all serving in that area.
Guy I covered and Mark Tony Joyce, did 5 tours and 3 were in Helmand.
Oh, Helmand's Helmand's a stronghold.
Yeah.
Man.
And he said in his first tour, this 10-meter contacts in the field where,
you can see their eyes.
Yeah, like so close. And then it turned into IED Alley, to where they never saw an enemy, and the Taliban completely changing their tactics.
Well, that's when everything changed. I think that's when everything changed for everybody. Things went okay, now this is next level, because now we're not just fighting a war in the sense of we're shooting people.
Well, they know they can't stand and fight against you. It's just
they can't hit a target to save their lives.
Yeah, not only that, they don't have the infrastructure for it either. No, you can't stand and fight the American and the British and the Canadian military. You can't do it.
No, and not only that, is like they're using weapons from the Soviet war, for God's sake.
They're in flip-flops and man dresses.
They're literally in man jams and flip-flops, and they run, and you're just like, how are you, like, when you watch them shoot at you, I think the first thing that comes to mind is, are you sweeping? Because the AK-47s, the way, you can't see my hands going, but they just put it over top of a wall and they just sweep left to right and just they got no idea.
Spray and pray.
Spray and pray is exactly what they do down there. And you can't, the only way that they could even attempt or to even hold an area was to do IEDs.
Right.
And
absolutely.
I mean, I'll give them credit. They are resourceful.
Oh, yes, extremely.
They'll take like 30 dead batteries, strap those things together to just get a small spark, just enough to set those things off.
Well, that whole infrastructure is brought to you by American education. We go to Harvard.
Brought to you by YouTube, Netflix.
Yeah. The guys that we had in our camps, though, that were like the heads of Al Qaeda and stuff, they were almost all like Harvard and Cambridge
in Iraq
educated.
or Afghan?
Iraq.
Oh, yeah, because the money.
Al Qaeda.
Money, baby.
They came over here for 10 years, got programmed up, went back with the whole intention of, jihad.
They knew exactly what they were doing.
They knew what they were doing, Some of them in frats.
Brilliant people. And they could hide it so well. And that's what's terrifying is that the people you're fighting, they know you inside and out because they're on Twitter. They're on Facebook. Yeah. They have that
lived
capability.
Here for 15 years.
They've lived in America. They know American values and they know how far America can go because we, I don't say unfortunately, but unfortunately, we follow a Geneva Convention.
Yeah.
And the enemy does not. And it's so hard to win a war against a country that doesn't even follow the same set of rules.
It's so hard to win a war when
in general.
In general, but when you have a lot of times when you have the media writing the rules for you. And there's a lot of that.
Oh yeah, and you do the wrong thing, you get ratted out by the wrong person, and it could have been perfectly legal and perfectly done properly and followed chain of command, but you get the wrong person that doesn't like you the right way, and oh well, that guy shot a guy when he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And now you're getting court-martialed. Your whole life's over.
I got some friends who gone to jail.
We had it in Canada, man. We had it oh my gosh, it's been quite a while. Sorry, I'm spacing on the name, guys. If you're in Canada, I'm sorry about that. But there was, we had it. We had a guy court-martialed. We had him. It was a whole thing, and it turned out like something about like private ratted him out. He didn't do it. In my mind, he didn't do anything wrong. And I think in most of the soldiers' minds that we know, he did not do anything wrong.
It's weird when you go from World War II to, shooting guys in the back of the head on your prisoner line.
That's a different conversation.
To now where it's like somebody gave out a wrong order and they're going to prison for 15 years.
And it's literally as much as a wrong order.
Yeah.
And it could be uneducated, not knowing any different. They go, hey, I didn't know the situation at the time. Well,
and a criminal process for war.
And And it's like you're not...
Where the business is killing and like defending life.
The money that you guys are making to build our schools are coming from the ammunition that is pumping out of our factories because of the war that we're involved in.
Wild.
It's a backwards mentality, but regardless, it's a mentality that we've adopted in the Western culture. Yeah. And regardless, we had to go to that war. Yeah. And so it was what it was, and it is still what it is over there, but it's you can't win a war that way.
No, and I think that the dynamic. I'm actually glad we're getting into this as a tangent because it's something that we can discuss between countries, and I find it between the British as well, where I talk to them, and it's like, most every action we take has been criminalized now to a point of where it's like you would almost rather not shoot and get shot.
Oh, all day
and
long.
Like be let out of the country because the other alternative is you hesitate. Yeah, you hesitate. You get other guys killed. And then the action of you being court-martialed and thrown in prison, the possibilities of that are just wild. And to think of that in a context where you are asked and pushed to be barbaric.
And vicious.
Yeah. And because guess what? You know what? And here's the thing that people really don't get. Killing is the worst thing that you can possibly do.
They glorify it, that's why.
But it's terrible.
Oh, it's horrific.
But guess what? It's our job.
It's what we are hired for.
Yeah. So if you try to pretty that up,
you can't.
You're
That's
done.
the problem.
You can't win.
You can't pretty up murder. You can't pretty up shooting somebody in the face.
You can't pretty up killing for sure.
No, it's definitely it's not something that you can, find a way around. It is what it is, and it is as simple as pulling a trigger.
Right.
And you're not going to make it pretty. You're not going to make it politically correct. And unfortunately, the way that the media views it is they have this perception because of things that have come out that should never have come out, that we go around just rape, pillage, and stab people in the face. Like, that's not what we do. That's not at all what we do.
That was a killer for us in Vietnam when that was 0.1% of what happened, which it did happen in
But
Vietnam.
it blanketed.
But
Of course it did.
the whole.
To say it's not to say it doesn't happen.
Yeah, right.
But
it happens now.
Of course, it happens now.
Yeah.
You and I both know it happens now. But to bet, kind of put
to
us
make
all
that
that
the 90% or
it's
whatever
not,
is crazy
it's
because
not,
it's such a minor thing.
It's not acceptable, and it shouldn't be the way. But unfortunately, we're in a day and age where everything is documented, photographed, and can be used against you at all times.
Yeah, 10 years later.
Oh, easily. Oh, yeah. That's the
15, 20.
The cancel culture, the things like that, all of that going into that. I mean, if you have war footage, I mean, you have, like, you and I both know, like, we have videos that most people would look at and go, how are you not going to prison? It's like, well, no, I did the right steps. I did the right things.
Yeah.
I followed the Geneva Convention, and I took orders, and I succeeded in my orders.
Yeah. The problem is that the culture has been censored so much in and of itself, and in a lot of ways it's even worse up north where you're at.
Oh yeah, big time.
There's a lot of censorship going on. So the problem is when you try to clean all that up and then you try to live by those guidelines in a warfare context, it's impossible.
Well, it is impossible. You're asking us to do literally an impossible task. So why even send us?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Oh, there's no reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's half the battle, right?
Yeah.
That we fight when we come back is not that we are trying to glorify war with these movies and these things and these, these videos we have and these photos we put on Facebook. Like, this is not a glorification. This is, hey, it's no different than you being on the job at a Kmart and taking a picture with a customer. I'm taking a picture with the enemy.
Yeah.
But that's my job.
It's the reality of the context.
Exactly. It's context, and it's our job.
My dad, I think one of the first things he said to me when I was headed over to Iraq was like, I need you to know something very important. Warfare is a horrible thing. And what you're about to see, what you're about to partake in, it's going to be soul-wrenching. It's going to be crushing. It's not going to feel right. It's going to be hard. That's because the hardest men have to do that job. And your job is to do that. And so you're going to do it to the best of the ability. Don't embarrass your name.
Well, exactly. And that's
like,
what it is.
Woo.
That's
a little
intense.
kick to the system, some AC/DC playing in the background.
That's
I'm like,
intense,
let's do it.
Dad.
Yeah.
Can we go now?
Yeah. It's one of those, but it's one of those things where it's like, this is part of the honor. This is where you earn your stripes.
Well, you do.
This is why people talk about you with lore and they build you up in these history books, is because you're committed yourself to one of the hardest actions, probably the hardest action a man or woman can commit to, which is doing their job and killing.
And some people will just never understand that. And those are the people you can't convince.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Yeah. But it's about trying.
The problem is when that becomes the majority of the culture, and then you're always fighting that.
That's the issue. And that's where I think we have the issues that we have now with us, our soldiers, everybody. I think that's where we have that, even with our first responders, right? If there's a shooting, you're going to get it.
It's real tough here.
Yeah, it's rough because they want you to come back and tell you how you liberated these people and gave them rights and you were able to do these things. And it's like, well, you're lucky if you don't accidentally step on something and die every day, let alone I'm not going to go in there with rainbows and stickers.
Yeah, we just talked about this with Nate Boyer on the podcast about it's not to allow terrible things amongst our
not
police
by any
officers.
Means.
We're not. We gotta punish those who need to be punished.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, dude, even some of the best decision makers in the world in the special operations side make bad decisions.
Everybody makes a bad decision,
Yeah.
and that's just
In the
humanity.
context of killing, guess what? That's amplified times 1,000.
Oh my God. You don't get much more amplified. And the thing is we are human. And that's what people forget. The people that you're sending over there are kids that went to high school. These are people who literally walked out of school, were like, I'm going to join the army. And
this isn't Superman, ladies and gents.
Yeah, we are not Superman or Superwoman. We are not Wonder Woman. I wish I looked as good as her and had the height. But you know what? She was in the IDF.
Yeah, she was.
She's solid.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
She was.
I actually spoke to somebody who worked with her recently.
That's cool.
When she was in. Yeah. Really cool stories. But yeah, I digress. But the point is we are just normal people. And people forget that. And they hold us to a higher standard. And so we should be. But that being said, mistakes can be made.
Absolutely.
And it happens.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be held accountable in the way that it ruins our entire lives when we come back to what is supposed to be our homeland, our safe space, our comfort. Yeah. And being held accountable to the extent of 15 years in prison when you sent us to an active war where we're shooting people.
Yes, absolutely.
You knew.
Yeah.
Like, come on. You knew.
Absolutely. So back to the Black Watch.
Black Watch are dope.
Yeah.
Those guys are what's up.
Talk to me about that. This is going to be a 4-hour podcast, by the way.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
you tell me
that's fine.
Cut me off when you're ready.
Nope. Not going to cut you off.
All right. So the Black Watch, they're what's up. Seriously, honestly, when I got a chance to meet with them, so they said, you're going. The first Chinook didn't show up. It had to get called to something else to go help somebody else. Let's leave it like that. And then they go, if it doesn't come tomorrow to get you, you're not going. And I was like, well, now I'm all jazzed to go. I went to the range, zeroed in, tacked out, got some cool kit. Sarge, really made me look the part. He made me look cool, and I was dope. I was so excited.
Can't be embarrassed by the British.
No, not at all. I can't.
Gotta show up looking good.
I gotta look like I know what I'm doing here, team. So anyway, we go. I get there. I end up getting on the Chinook the next day. Left a bunch of guys behind that couldn't have cared less if I left. Let's be frank. And left him a gun short. Well, one person short on the guns. So. Well, hustle.
Wow.
Get to hustling, team.
So what was it like when you got there?
Oh. So I landed in CAF, which I didn't expect to be backed into.
Did you immediately love those guys?
Yeah, kind of. Shoot. Yeah, kind of.
I love them.
They're honestly the coolest people.
I don't know why. I just
the
love
accent.
them. And the stoic thing.
They're so stoic.
And like making comedy out of the worst things ever.
Dude,
my mate got blown up right in front of me, and I was like,
this
is going to be a bad day.
That's going to be a bad day. We're going to move on. I could get Watson on the phone right now. Shout out to Chris Watson over in
I think I did a little
Scotland.
Australia, but that's okay.
I think we need to work on your Scottish accent.
Yes.
We'll definitely we'll work over that over dinner.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back on and we'll let you guys know how this worked out for Tim because that was embarrassing.
We're doing 2 podcasts.
Sorry, guys. The Australians are really going to be just hurt. They're going to be listening to this going,
oh, no.
That was so bad. But no, they, honestly, I think it's the stoic that you're right. Like, I walked into, I don't know if anybody's been out there in podcast land has been to CAF, but CAF in Afghanistan is just a giant place where we all go when we all get in. And
someone has for sure.
Somebody has for sure. So you know what's up. You guys know where the boardwalk's at. The sweet Tim Hortons that we have there. And we have our sides. So Canada has the Canada House on one side. Americans got their deal. The Italians and Germans, they're on the other side. They got their own thing going. The British got their own thing going. So we all kind of stick to ourselves. We meet in the middle at the boardwalk and we have tea. So I got dropped off. They said, you're going to go over there, walk in, open the gates, see the British flags flying. And it was interesting because when I walked in, it was like this, like, are you in the wrong place? Like, what are you doing here? And so I really had no idea where I was supposed to be going.
Yeah.
I just walked up to a tent, knocked on the side and was like, hey, I'm here to play. Let's party. Let's party, guys.
The British were totally down for that.
They were like,
All right.
So then we go and we get the briefing and they said, we're going to roll out at 0100 and otherwise you're going to meet the guys you're going to be with when you get to the tarmac and I'm going to put you into the female tent and you can go crash on a cot. And, by that point, I'm just excited to be doing something and not sitting on the guns just waiting for things to happen, right? I want to go play. I want to use this training. And that's where it comes back to with that fear and that innate, like, I wasn't afraid. And it's not that I'm like, oh, I'm so tough. I wasn't afraid. It's like, I knew my capabilities. I knew what I was going to do and I accepted that and I was okay with that.
Right.
So when I went, we got the briefing. They're like, have a sleep. That didn't happen. I was wide awake. And I totally regretted that immediately afterwards when we got going. As soon as
you always do when you don't get the sleep. When you don't take the sleep, somebody says to take it, you take that sleep.
You take the sleep. You take it every second you can.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we get there. We go, we roll, we get on a bus, a school bus by, this is the best part. This is like an old, I don't even know how they got the school bus. I'm wondering if they brought the school bus over to transport troops in because it was hilarious to me.
Was it a British school bus?
No, I don't know. It was yellow. It was, I want to say it was like brought over from one of us. Like it was weird. So we hop on the school bus, like, we're going to drive you to the LZ, guys. And
that sounds like the most British thing ever. You're like, do you have armor on this? And they're like no, we don't need it.
We don't need it. It'll be a bad day, it'll be a good day. Either way, it's going to be a day. You're like, cool.
Some of us might die.
Yeah, some of us might die. You'll be all right. So we get to the tarmac, and they're kind of going, like, these are the guys you're going to work with. These are who you're going to talk with, and this is how it's going to be. And they go, listen, we'll be honest. Before I left, I got a brief overview of the operation we were going on. Okay, so I knew where I was going. I knew the areas, and I also knew that it was not a great area to be walking on foot. We were going to the Pandora district.
Is any area a good area?
The boardwalk?
Afghanistan. I don't know. Is any area a good area to walk? To walk in? There are literally anti-tank mines from 1835.
Yeah, I guess I was just trying to be optimistic. It's the Canadian in me. So yeah, we went and they're like, you'll be straightforward. We don't often use a female searcher. We bring one with us at all times, just in case. But we've been noticing some things change. And since we're going to do this operation and we kind of know what we're getting into, we also know that there might be some hairy situations we might need you in. And I said, okay, cool. Whatever, man. Whatever you need me to do. And they said, and that being said, we only have one female searcher, which is you. And we got 3 small troops that are going out. We got Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. So we're going to shift you around. It's going to be a lot of walking. Hope you're ready. I'm like, let's go. So we get going. They're like, we're going to hop on the Chinook. I want you to stick with the bomb dog at all times. And I was like, I can do that. I mean, it's a puppy, so I'm in.
Puppy and war. That's
puppy
awesome.
and war. So it's
best things ever.
Automatically like mood booster.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're like, stick with him, Bucky and Benji. Benji is the dog's name. Bucky is the soldier's name. And you'll be fine. Just follow his lead, and we'll come get you when we need to. I was like, okay, cool. They're like, shoot at things that move. Otherwise, just don't shoot us in the back, and we'll set. I'm like, cool. Hop on the Chinook. We drive it.
I like that rule of engagement.
Right? Just don't shoot us in the back.
Yeah.
So we hop on, and I somehow got stuck on the floor of the Chinook, and they pack those things. So I'm like,
oh yeah, I remember.
Oh yeah. So somehow I'm like underneath like way too many people for about 45 solid minutes. And they go, we're going to land. We're expecting some fire. And I'm like, oh, whatever. So we land. And now at this point, we get the 2-minute warning, light flicks on, we're ready to rock. We go, everybody starts piling out, and, rounds start popping off. And I go to stand up, and, I don't. My legs went numb.
Oh, yeah. So, I remember that.
Oh, yeah. That first step off outside the wire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, legs went completely. I got no shame in saying that either. Like, and I mean, like, numb, like, they buckled. Like, I went to stand, and they buckled. All I felt was some big dude grab my my tack vest from behind, just kick me right in the butt and go, let's go. And I'm like, all right, here we go. And the second I step off the Chinook was like when reality punched me square in the face.
Yeah.
I did not expect that. That was a different feeling.
Yeah, what was that like?
I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't ready for this. Was not ready for this. I was not ready for this. Because when you step off of a Chinook and you step onto the real outside the wire unevenness of the ground, you forget that there could be bombs under your feet, because I'd been in the fob. Those artillery guns don't leave fobs very often, and it's very rare. I mean, a barrel on the M777 is like over $1 million. Like, you blow that thing up, and you've got more than just your superiors to answer to. You've got the government to answer to now, right? And at this time, Harper had just gotten us. It was our prime minister at the time. It's our version of a president, just less orange.
Okay, yeah.
And we.
Jeez.
I'm going to be barred for coming to the States.
We got 50% of Texas. What'd you say, woman?
What'd you say, woman? You talking about my president? You're like, I'm sorry. I still love guns. Leave me alone. So, yeah, our prime minister got us all new kit and stuff. So I was, we didn't want to blow those up right off the bat. So we get there, we're rolling out, and we had the special forces ahead of us, kicking in the door, waiting to see, because we were there looking for somebody. And
were these British SAS or American?
I can't say.
Okay, cool.
So,
Totally fine.
yeah, no worries. So yeah, they were out ahead of us anyway. So they basically had realized that person had been gone, and somebody had alerted him a few weeks in advance, which gave them plenty of time to prepare themselves for us.
They don't need a lot of time.
Oh no, they need about a solid day, if that, to get a good line of IEDs set up and cameras for them all to watch and that kind of deal. So can you get that feeling? Did you ever get that feeling when you're in Iraq that you're always being watched?
Yeah, I mean every day.
Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't like
especially when mortars would come in. You were just like, oh, my feelings were right.
Well, because mortars are no more than 5K away.
No.
Because being an artillery gunner, we do mortars. And they're inaccurate.
They really suck, though.
Oh, they hurt.
So scary.
Yeah, because they don't have an accuracy that is
There's no control in that. When you're getting shot at, you feel like there's some weird, Neo thing where you feel like you have some control over the bullets.
Slight.
Even though it's slight, But
yeah.
it's a lot more control than an artillery round coming in where you're like, oh, this could obliterate
Oh,
me.
yeah, and you won't feel it.
Yeah.
You'll hear they used to give us a nickname. Some of the Americans, it's like, they call us the hand of God. Reach out and touch you.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
We'll reach out and touch you without you even knowing it.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
You'll hear that thunder and lightning bang, and then we'll wipe you right off the face of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was very proud of that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's one thing I can
look
say.
Very proud
well,
of that.
I'm very proud of that.
She's smiling.
I'm
very
smiling
big.
excessively. But yeah, I mean, we waited, and then they're like, we're going to wait till morning prayer, and then we're going to start knocking on doors. And by knocking on doors, I mean we're going to start booting doors in and taking people out. I'm like, cool, I'm into it. Let's do it. So I got to know some of the guys while we were just hanging out in the fields, and then I hear a call over the radio, and we go, and they kick the first door open right after first prayer. And I don't know if it, like I said, I try to reiterate this so people can really get the view of it. They announce the morning prayer 5 times a day over loudspeakers across the entire country.
Yeah.
You can hear that prayer everywhere you go.
It's also I totally understand respecting a country and their ideologies, but also it's just what you said a minute ago, oh, we're going to wait for the morning prayer, then we're going to kick them down. It's okay, but why?
But why? I think it was.
Why do we?
I think it was it was the very beginning of the operation when nobody was pissed off yet. I honestly think that once
we're going to be nice at first.
We're going to be nice. We're going to play nice. We're going to do our best. We're going to try really hard to respect
the culture
and understand that, they didn't ask for this. These aren't the people that, blew up towers. These aren't the people that came in and started bombing our countries. These are people that just had to be collateral damage.
Right.
And so we try to respect that to the most, the best ability we can until you piss us off too much.
Right.
And that being said, so we go, I get a call. They're like, all the women or kids are here. Bring up the female searcher. We actually need her. I'm like, oh, God. Of course they do. On the one time they bring me, the one time I'm going, and they need me. So I get up and they go, do your thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, wait, what's my thing? They're like, did they not tell you what you're supposed to do? I was like, well, this is the briefing I got. You're going to take the women and children to separate rooms, and you're going to be the one who searches them. You find anything sketchy, chuck it out the room, but you're going in by yourself.
Right.
I'm like, well, how many women and kids? Like, however many are there. I'm like, cool. So we're looking over 10 people at a time. Like, yep. Most of them are high as well. So, because we're in a real rural area, they chew on. What is that stuff they chew?
It's like a cut almost, where they put it between their lip too. Yeah, they
use
it in Somalia. Yeah, it's
in Somalia they do.
Gears you up to fight.
They're hyper,
you're,
man.
Almost out of your mind.
Yeah, they're out of their mind. They're hyper. They're bouncing off the walls, and that's
it's an opiate for sure.
Oh, it definitely is an opiate. Yeah, I don't know if it was a derivative of the poppy plant or where they got it.
Probably is.
Yeah, I'm not 100%. So I'm sorry if I miscommunicate that, but yeah, so we're seeing a lot of that. And so the first time I went in, my very first situation, kicked the door open and right off the bat we're having issues because now we're finding things we shouldn't be finding. We're finding mad bags of drugs, we're finding a bunch of weapons, tons of cash. Why do you have this? Where'd you get this? That kind of conversation. And here's the kicker: when I'm in full kit, I just look like a very short dude. I have a long blonde braid that's tucked in because I don't need to be targeted any more than I already was.
Right.
And so I don't look like a female. Yeah. And so to the father of the family of the door we just kicked in, when they see me start grabbing up women by the arms and kids and babies and shoving them in a room and locking the door behind me, it looks like I'm about to go.
Yeah, they're not happy.
They're not happy. So they start putting hands on me. Grabbing me, trying to pull me away from this. And then so one of the terp comes over and he's trying to explain to them. And the terp, they're no different Okay, those Terps over there, they don't respect women any different than the Afghan normal guys that I work with us, right?
At all,
so they weren't into that. So I go and I do my first search, and my first search yields way too much cash, way too much jewelry, way too many sharp objects, and a mother who is just losing her absolute mind. And I can appreciate it. I mean, I'm a mother now. You kick my door open, you go near my son, and you're going to see
You're in trouble.
You're seeing Mama Bear come out. I'm going to rip your face off.
Uh-huh.
And so I can appreciate that. Don't get me wrong. But that being said, I'm there to do a job. You want to keep screwing with me, I'm going to beg and tag you. I'm going to sit you on the floor, and I don't care.
Right.
And that's when I really started to notice, like, the hardening in me change. Like, that mentality of...
It's good, though. It has to.
It has to, but you don't know it until you're in it. And the thing is being an artillery gunner, I didn't ever think I would actually have to experience... I didn't think I was going to experience that to that level. I didn't know I was capable of that sort of, not even hatred, but that sort of intensity towards another person.
Right.
And that just give a SHIT factor when it came to like, this is my life and I'm going to live and I'm going to go home to my family and I don't care what you're going to do about it. I'm going to make sure I go home.
Yeah, I mean, it becomes then that choice of, and you were mentally making that choice of, you or me, and guess what? I'm going home every time. I don't care.
Every time.
I'll put a bullet in that head quick. I just have to do it.
Exactly.
And yeah, I didn't want to have to.
But you made that option for you.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the mentality.
As you would say, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. And so that was the mentality that came out of that first, situation. And searching, I'll be honest, I went from searching like babies. Mm-hmm. Trying to tickle them and just make it a game and look less horrific than I looked, to not giving.
Yeah, not caring.
At all. And that was scary for me.
Right, losing the sensitivity.
Losing that empathy for another human being.
Mm-hmm.
That just checked out, man. It checked out in a way that I didn't know was possible.
There's a weird edge there, right?
Yeah.
And it is very tricky.
You were always teetering on that too far point. that edge of like where you can really check out.
I call it the line between killer and murderer. And I think it's like...
that's a good one.
Yeah, like to me, especially, being a Christian, like I believe in a very big difference between killing and murdering, and that killing is a defensive action and like you have to do it as a part of war, and murder being an intentional action where you're,
premeditated
choice. Yeah, not even premeditated, but just doing it on innocence, killing innocence.
Yeah, for no reason other than pleasure for yourself.
Right, yeah. In that sense, it's murder. But like you teeter on that line between those two, I think, because you're very, mentally you're having to become hard to become a warrior.
Yes.
But at the same time, you definitely do not want to lose that empathy. Because that's a dangerous place.
It's a dangerous place.
Because that's the place between you and how you are and a sociopath.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you don't notice it happening while it's happening. And that's the scary factor is there's no like awareness to that at that time because you're so focused on just living and making sure you don't step on an ID, making sure you do the right things. Oh, absolutely. And it's that tunnel vision, that type of focus. And so that's what it was. And that op was dangerous. That was a deadly op. We lost a lot of people.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of people.
What's that like? You're
that?
working with obviously a different nation. You don't know these guys too well.
I started to get,
you started to get pretty close.
You get tight real quick.
And what's that like when you're losing guys? What's that feeling?
Well, we had our first loss on the second day. So the first day was just firefights all day. In between, kicking doors on the roofs, firefights, taking stuff out. And I learned really quickly, like I said at that point, that it didn't matter to me what I need to do to get my job done was getting done. So at this point now, I'm tie strapping people down. I'm zip tying people. I'm holding them down while I search individual kids and this because like now I'm in a room 12 to 15 people. They could take me out.
Right.
You think about that, right? Like I got a
doesn't matter how strong you are.
I got like a C7, so you're like M16 long barrel. Like, it's not going to end well for anybody at that point. So the day we lost Rob McLaren was the day that changed me. That did me in. That did me in. So day number 2, right off the bat, did me in hard. And I mean, like, was the start of a rough time for me. And it was early in the morning. It was like right on 11. We were clearing houses. We had a wide open clearing. And suffice it to say, without giving too much detail, I don't want to shock and awe anybody here, but ID went off. He went up ahead to clear. Mark was at the door. And like I said, I got pretty close with all of these guys really quick. And I mean quick because I was a new person to them. So they wanted to get to know me. And here's the difference between the Black Watch and my unit that I started with, okay, is they didn't question my abilities. They knew I was there to do a job. I didn't have a boss. I was there to do what I was told to do and just follow along with them, right? So they weren't there to tell me what to do.
There's a lot of responsibility that comes with that, though.
It was a lot, and stuff I don't know that I was particularly ready for, but something I was willing to take on.
Right.
And I think that's why I was excited to go. Anyway, so the loss of Rob was really rough. That was my first taste of dirty warfare. Yeah. Dirty wars and what those IEDs can really do to a person. And after that was, I think, it was my first death, my first time collecting body pieces, my first time running through.
So you encountered that very close.
Oh, we had close combat hard. We when they took us out there, when you get that, like I said, I meant up that earlier, that sense of being watched. That was it. You felt it. And at the time when we were waiting for Rob and Mark to go up and clear the road, and it was a gray putt. So if anybody doesn't know what a gray putt is, it's essentially a mud and stick walls, 4 walls, and they have like really small rectangular holes. It's like a human cheese grater, in my opinion. And inside of it, they placed an IED under a mound of sticks. So he went over. He knows better. You don't kick things on the ground. Rob had just got there. Rob had been there for maybe a month, I think, if I'm not wrong. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Shoot me a message. But I want to say it was a short amount of time. Yeah. And that, within that, you learn things the longer you're there, right? You walk around a piece of stick. You walk around a piece of garbage. You don't step on top of those things. And unfortunately, he had the metal detector and he knocked it the way he shouldn't have, and that was it for him. Yeah. Pink dust. Wow. And then Mark was at the door, and Mark took the brunt of the blast because it was inside, and all of the force of it came out the door where he was providing cover. And at that point, it was like they were, while I was sitting watching all this happen, one of the Terps was beside me, and they had the ICOM radio running, and all you hear is the Allah Akbar, like, they're watching. They know they got one of us. They got us. Yeah. And right from that moment there on, we're getting mortared. We're taking heavy fire. And without even thinking twice, I get up and I run to Mark with my buddy Craig. He's a medic. He's solid medic. He's did a few tours in Iraq, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of these guys that we're with, man, they had already done multiple tours in Iraq and Afghan. These guys are hard, and they know what's up. They know how to move. Right. And so I go with him, and I just click right in with these guys. They didn't question anything. And so we helped Mark. Mark, the only thing he could ask was, "Where's McLaren? Where's McLaren? Where's McLaren?" And at that point, you have to do nothing but lie, because he'll go into shock. He's bleeding out. He's got issues. We got to get him out of here. They're okay. Yeah, you just say, no, he's good. He's good. He's with us. We got him. Don't worry about it, buddy. And then I feel a tap on the shoulder, and it's Watson on me saying, I got it. Go. So I run up, and I go in. We run alongside a couple buddies of mine, and we run into the Grey Putt. We're one of the first ones into there. And it was a recovery mission at that point for whatever we could get of him. And we were taking heavy fire. And then next thing you know, we got to move. We got to get out of here quick. Blackhawks are coming in. We got the Angel flight coming. We got to move. So we just start piling whatever we can, start grabbing things off the walls, putting them in pockets, just dirty stuff. You don't want to leave anything behind, right? Right. And we start running and just whizzing and popping. And I'm thinking to myself, how is this not taking one of us out? How is somebody not getting clipped right now? Yeah. How are one of us not getting taken out? And I hear that sweet sound of those, that Blackhawk coming over the edge of those trees and just letting loose that beautiful door gunner noise of just, that is what you call relief, my friend. Yeah. And so that was my first real loss in front of my eyes, and my first real, in it. Yeah. In the shit, as they say. And that was the first time. And then for the rest of the week, we had, we're in firefights and IEDs, and we had a couple Terps go. We had a few other people pass. And then, the week later, we had a few more. So the Black Watch took all summer, the Black Watch took a lot of loss. Yeah. It was just 2009 was a rough summer. Fighting season was rough. Yeah. So, it was something I wasn't expecting because I didn't have anything to judge it against. Yeah. You don't. There's no way you can. They tell you, this is what you're going into, but then you don't get it until you see it. No. When you watch somebody's body flail up in the air.
There's nothing as shocking
No.
is that. And so, like, you can talk about that all day long, but the actual action of it, the actual processing of that is something completely different.
And when it happens, your brain views it. Like, I remember,
Imagine, like, not seeing that for your whole life and then all of a sudden seeing that.
Well,
And that's what it is.
And how old were you when you were in Iraq?
I was a team leader at 21. I was 21 years old.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was 19.
19, yeah.
So, like just turned 19 kind of deal, right? Fresh.
You joined in 07?
07, so I was 18. I just turned 18.
Wow. I joined in 05.
Okay, yeah. So I graduated high school in 07. September, and went.
Yeah, I graduated September 05.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Of course you did. Mm-hmm. Perfect. So yeah, I turned 18 in September, and then I joined.
So you turned 18 in basic?
Just before. Just right before.
Yeah, I was 17 right there.
Yeah?
I was the youngest guy in my whole company.
Because you did your parents sign the waiver?
Yeah, but I went to basic the year before I graduated high school.
How did you?
It's called a split option program.
Oh.
So you go to basic training and then you go to AIT after your senior year.
Okay.
So for a whole year, you're non-deployable.
Oh, that's okay.
Contract.
So they have to until you're legally.
Right.
Yeah. Got you. And then that's actually kind of interesting because at that point, if you don't like it, you're
still not getting out.
Because
this is America. We don't let people out.
This is America. We never let you out. We don't care what you do or who you do it to. You're not getting out.
Wait, all of a sudden my senior year came and all of a sudden I decided this isn't for me. Oh, cool. You're still going.
Really? Wow. See us?
Yeah, it's a split option program. You're still on the contract. You're non-deployable.
You're getting paid though, which is nice.
I was in for 6 years. Okay. So you're on that contract. You're through, going through your senior year, and then.
How long is your first contract that you signed?
6 years.
You signed it right out of the gate. Everybody
it's called
signs
a 6x8. So 6x8, 2 years on IRR, which is essentially you're still deployable during those 2 years when you're not.
Okay.
And so but 6 years you are serving.
Oh, wow.
So 6 years I signed right off the gate. But I was in the Texas National Guard, which is different.
That's a bit
so I was going to college,
while
I was in.
So
I got deployed in the middle of my college career.
Oh, so that's like the smart thing to do. Because now they're like, hey, let's send him to college. He'll be a good officer and a smart guy. I went, never mind. He's failing out. Let's just deploy this guy.
It's smart until you get deployed. And then you go, oh, wait, I actually have to do something.
Oh, this is like real life? Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, there is a similar program where you can still be in like grade 12, and instead of taking like a spare or something, you can join, but it's like reserves. They make you join reserves first before you make that commitment, because we try to be accepting that people might not all like the career that they're joining right out of high school.
I love the way you said that.
Well, I mean, come on, 6 years? How old are you to make that decision?
17.
Yeah, to make a life decision like that.
My parents had to sign on the contract.
Yeah, okay, so think about that. Like, put that into perspective.
It's a hard choice.
That's a difficult choice. Not even just a hard choice. You're not old enough to make that choice.
The way that I looked at it at 17 years old, though, was thinking about guys like Jack, and I can't remember his last name for the life of me, but served at Iwo Jima, and he was there at 15 years old and received the Congressional Medal of Honor for his actions.
That's a different ball game. You can't compare the wars.
No, you can't. His was way worse.
I know. But that's what I mean. It's way worse.
But I'm thinking, like, mine's not nearly as bad. Iraq and Afghanistan could get bad, but most of it was a policing action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's different. That's different.
Like I think most of Iraq and Afghanistan is that. Like
it is. It's educating.
There was all-out war for sure, but most of it was a policing action that was dangerous at times. For sure.
Yeah, because because here's the thing that people that I don't think fully know and fully understand, that when we go over there, we don't just go and just shoot up the place and be like, hey, peace. We go and we train the militaries, we train the police forces, and we train them so that when we leave, they can hopefully have a successful transition.
Yeah.
That's obviously never been
And it's very different. No, and it's very different than those wars earlier, because it's a lot like NASCAR, right?
Okay.
It's 95%.
Of course, you'd use a NASCAR reference in Texas.
I don't even like NASCAR, but I'm giving this reference. 95% boredom and 5% pure terror.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah,
that's all.
But that's not World War II.
No,
it was
my
like
God,
95% pure terror.
Yeah, you're looking at like mustard
Okay,
gas.
I'm gonna die.
And I'm gonna die at any moment, almost every moment.
Yes.
The chances of you making it through World War II, you better buy a lottery ticket, because damn.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. My next guy going up on the podcast for this next week for Thanksgiving, the day before, is Don Graves, and he was at Iwo Jima, and he's he's one of two remaining flamethrowers living. And
That's
him and Woody
intense.
Williams are the only two. So Don, yes, 335 guys in his battalion.
What is like one or two out of that?
He's the only one left.
That's insane.
But at the
Talk
time,
about that survivor guilt, right?
Yeah. So in the day he's saying, like, when we walked off the beach, there were only 10 of us that walked off on our own power.
Oh yeah, like under your own fruition there, because everybody was
wounded
off.
or dead.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's it though, and that's where I feel like.
So that's what I'm leading back to, though,
Yeah.
with when I joined, was like, dude, if they could do that, then...
Well, exactly.
Like,
You're 17. We've got better tools. We've got better education. You would think that we would come out of this with like a lot better perspective.
I could get killed, but chances are I won't.
It's a lot less. Like, and over there, I mean, well, it's conscription for first off. Let's just hit that off the bat.
Yeah.
They didn't have an option.
No.
For a lot of them, right?
No.
So
that's what people don't know about World War II, too, is like there was a draft as well.
There's a draft.
I mean, guys were... Now, the reason that we don't know a lot about that is because guys were killing themselves if they couldn't go.
Well, yeah.
There was that national pride.
And then the men that stayed home, it was this like, well, why aren't you off fighting the
yeah,
war? And it's like, and you know what? I'll be honest. Like, the gentleman that Papa, who I named my son after, he's my husband's grandfather, and
cool.
he's still living. He's 96. Guys, tank.
Yeah.
He didn't deploy. He was needed otherwhere. And he goes, I ask him about that. Like, how do you feel about that? And he goes, because he came over, and he goes, I always wondered about that. Like, but I needed to be other places.
Yeah.
And it's not about feeling bad about doing that. No, you shouldn't, because that's the thing. People were used in the positions that they were needed.
You
and
could
if that
still
was
be a patriot at home.
Exactly. And so that's the difference, right?
That's an awesome attitude he has, but most of those guys did not have
No,
that
they did
attitude.
not. No.
I covered Paul Merriman, who was another Iwo Jima guy, and sorry to be getting off on this
No,
tangent,
go
but this
for
is
it.
war,
This
know?
is it.
We're
This
talking
is
about
war.
it. Paul was talking about being on a train, and he grew up in Pennsylvania. He was on a train, and he was 17 at the time, and it was just like when he could have volunteered to join, right?
Okay.
And he ended up fighting at Iwo Jima. But he's 17. Yeah.
It gives me goosebumps, man. That gives me the goosebumps.
Heavy, yeah.
It is heavy.
But he's 17 years old, and he's in a train, and this lady keeps staring at him. He's like, I don't know why she's staring at me. This is 1945, like just before he joined.
Wow.
And this lady keeps staring at him, and is like, well, what the heck? Why is she
You're like,
looking
why
at
are you
me?
looking at me?
But he feels like a lot of people are looking at him. This lady walks up to him, and she goes, what are you doing? He's like,
what do you mean?
I'm going to work. She's like, but you're not going to real work.
Oh, that's dirty.
And she said, you know where my son is? She's like, in Italy.
Oh my gosh.
And she smacks him across the face.
Because that's when you could get away with that.
Yeah. She says, how dare you be a fighting agent, be here?
Oh man, that's. Do you know how hard that would be to swallow? Like
and
literal goosebumps, man.
4 months later, he's on Iwo Jima.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, lady, come back, so I smack you up. No.
My turn.
I'm not.
We're not advocating
violence
for violence
towards women,
No,
or any
we're
violence
not.
at all.
No.
But that being said,
that would be the context where you would like to do that.
That's the context
and
in
you
which
could have gotten away with it.
You could have
back
gotten
then.
away with it back then. That's right. But that's it, though. I mean, that's what people don't understand is there was a draft.
Yes, there was.
That draft was, for some people, they are not cut out. Like you said, you meet them in basic. Some people are not cut out to go do this, and they're just a body count at that point. Yeah. And I can appreciate how but people are jumping off like top shelves, breaking each other's legs, so they didn't have to go. Now that, to me, that's a different conversation.
Yes, definitely.
That's a different conversation. Yeah. But hey,
I'm talking about Vietnam there for a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're talking about Vietnam. But here's
talking about that heavy.
Oh, heavy. But here's the thing. Those wars, World War II, like, I mean, I wouldn't be here if Hungary wasn't liberated. I'm Hungarian. My grandfather comes from Hungary. He came over right after the war.
Partially to me.
Yeah?
Polish and Hungarian.
Really?
Yeah.
Whereabouts in Hungary?
I don't remember, but most of my family from Poland is from Warsaw.
Okay, yeah.
And there was definitely a lot of the family over there during World War II.
Oh yeah, everybody comes over from that.
But I don't know. Like a lot of them, some of them probably did not survive.
Oh, no doubt they didn't.
Yeah.
I can tell you that right off the bat. And so my grandfather, he made it through the war, fortunately, and I don't know how because he was just a SHIT head. He was just a teenager, going through that, and he left when the Soviets came in because the Soviets, that power vacuum, right? That after the war, there was nobody there to go into all these countries. And so the Soviets came in and just started taking over. Mm-hmm. And that's what he did. And he escaped and he had to hide. He did something pretty shady. He shouldn't have done. No lies. That's not on his own fruition. He listen.
Listen, we're past the age.
We're past.
We're not judging him now.
No, we're not judging. He's past. But listen, he
would have judged him back then.
You would have judged him back
but
then.
Not now.
He hid. Let's be honest. He hid out in his mom's basement for a few weeks while the police looked for him, and he made it to Canada.
We're not judging. I'm laughing.
There's
and
no judgment.
I was in an infantry company.
There's
I'm laughing.
no judgment here, and he made it over with a bunch of his buddies to Canada, and he settled in Trenton, Ontario.
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
That's so.
Wow.
I'm from an immigrant family. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get what it means to come over from a war and not and understand what that is. And
on the other side of that, I've covered a French Foreign Legion.
Really?
Member, yes.
See, I've never
Florida.
spoken.
He lives in
Florida, and he picked Florida.
Santa Rosa Beach. Yeah.
So from France, he picked Florida.
He loves Santa Rosa Beach.
Is Florida America at all?
It's a very strange state.
It's
different.
But
Santa Rosa Beach is beautiful.
See, okay. So Florida, I went once in the transport with my dad, but I don't.
No, to give you a track on Santa Rosa Beach, it's basically like the Caribbean attached to a state. It's beautiful. Clearwater's beautiful.
Clearwater,
very
Florida.
rich community.
Clearwater's
on the side of Tampa.
That's where all the Scientologists are at. That's why I know Clearwater.
He's not from Clearwater though. He's from Santa Rosa Beach.
But when you say Clearwater, I know Clearwater because I.
It's on the inside of Tampa.
It's okay. I got you.
Beautiful.
See, when you tell me places in the States, I'm just going, but I know.
Santa Rosa Beach is beautiful. It's this area called 30A, and that whole highway. I've covered a couple guys off that highway, but he was one of the guys I covered, and he moved there. But he was French Foreign Legion, still spoke perfect French.
Yeah.
And 16 years old, jumped off a Nazi transport and got machine gun fire thrown at him
and
on
made
all sides.
it and made it some
and then
magical
joined
way.
the Legion at 16 years old, and going on the underground, slitting Nazi officers' throats, doing his job.
Oh, he was Valkyrie in that stuff.
He had to. That was part of the job.
I'm sorry, but that right there, now that person is somebody I want to meet.
Blown up tanks behind the scenes.
Oh my God, I want to meet this guy.
And then in the battle of one of the bigger Allied American battles, was attached to a Ranger unit. As a French Foreign Legion guy, 17 years old, had no experience with the Rangers, was forced through a Ranger course with the Americans, goes out the other side, and then gets involved in one of our, and I cannot remember the name, Metzger, something, one of the bigger battles towards the end of the war where a lot of GIs were killed.
Oh, yeah.
But he lived through that.
That's insane.
And he literally, literally talking to him and asking him, like, how did you survive that? And he says to me, like, I don't know.
There
I
was
felt
something
bullets
watching
going
over
past
you.
my head, past my face. I don't know how I lived, but I made it through all that time in the Legion, so I thought, I got a pretty good chance.
Might as well keep going.
Yeah. But a Frenchman that was very, and
because he didn't have to do that. He could have just left and went and settled and had his family.
Because all the French forces gave up, and he said, we were embarrassed for our French forces.
Everybody was.
And
have you been to France recently?
No.
Well, I was just there.
I've never been.
Oh my gosh, man! I was just there for the D-Day, 75th anniversary D-Day
I had
celebration.
some challenge coins sent to me by people who went.
Oh, Jelly Clarkson on that. Yeah. I want a challenge coin from over
5
there.
of them. The 75th anniversary coins.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to steal one from you. I'm having to get one of those. Anybody out there in the podcast land? I don't have one. I was there. I was on the beaches of Juneau.
Did you?
Yeah, well, because we I went over
because the Canadian presence was so big with that.
You think?
Yeah.
We came in to help you guys get your SHIT together.
That patch.
Listen,
awesome.
That's what's
the
up.
Green Berets, when they talk about that one, that's their favorite. Yeah.
Juneau Beach is no joke. We lost. Well, so we went over. Fortunately, I do a lot of road biking. I'm a big road biker.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I try. It keeps my head clear, man. And I don't even want to say that my husband finally allowed it, but he did not want me on the road. He was like, listen, you ride moto, and I know what you're like on a dirt bike. And like, my husband's a professional supercross racer, right? So he's like, yeah,
I want to meet this guy.
He's dope. He flew back home today, look after a little man.
Yeah, why didn't he? Oh, yeah. Okay.
We got a human.
We've got a kid.
I got a tiny human that needs looking after. And so anyway, he knows what I'm like on a bike, and he knows like, hey, I don't want you to die. So like, maybe not on a road bike ever. And then I finally was like, listen, after we had Jack, this 42 pounds I've gained, this sweet baby weight, I want a road bike. So I got on a road bike, and now I'm like addicted. It's like crack, man. I just all I want to do all the time. And so we got to go over with Wounded Warriors Canada. We got to go over, and we did a 600 kilometer, so 500-mile road bike ride.
That's a lot.
Yeah, over I think it was like 6-day span where we rode from like Normandy to Juneau.
Wow.
And we were riding like 4 or 5 hours a day, and we raised $750,000.
How come you didn't take me?
You can come on this one.
Okay.
I'm doing another one in June. I'm going over to Holland for the 75th
coming.
Dude, you need to come. So when we were there, we were really lucky.
I need to come in. I need to cover a veteran on that trip.
Oh, gee. Who could you cover? I don't know.
I'm sure somebody.
I'm sure we'll be all right with that. I think I can hook you up.
You have a piece of jewelry you can give them?
I feel like...
Can we make this part of the book?
Yeah. Oh, well, you're just
We're having
dropping
ideas.
hints.
No, we're not going to talk about... No. We're not talking about that, but book.
But yeah, no, seriously, we went over and it was so dope because we got to go with, and I clicked with this guy. His name's Russell K. Okay, he is 95 years old. This guy's smart as a whip.
He's really tall. I think
you
I
saw
this
that
picture.
photo of him,
yeah,
right?
I did.
Guy,
I pay attention.
Guy is on it though, man. Sharp. And he was one of the first to land on Juneau.
Wow.
Okay, he was an artillery gunner. So him and I we had a small special thing. He came on a bike. You ever hear about those people that came out on bikes?
No.
They rolled off the boats on bikes.
I know.
No, seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not hear about
Yeah,
this.
it's crazy. Anyway, he
I
made
heard
it.
about paragliders, but I never
Oh,
heard
yeah,
about
yeah.
this.
No, he made it. He made it up the beach.
Wow.
Liberated Canada House. And we got to take him this year, and it was the first time he'd been back in 75 years.
Imagine the guys patrolling into that and being like, wait,
Man.
they get bikes?
Who gets bikes? I want a
I want to
bike.
step on a mine.
No, you get a bike, sir. You're on a bike, sir.
You get a bike.
You get only 100 pounds on your back. You're like, I can't balance. I'm going down. You're like, just suck it up.
Suck it up.
Suck it up. That's right. So yeah, no, he made it and he lived. And I asked him, and I just looked at him, and you saw that photo. I was bawling my eyes out, and I was emotional because you can feel them.
I love that though.
You feel the people there, man. You feel it, and you feel it so heavy.
I tell people all the time at this work is I've met a ton of celebrities. I've gotten to meet a ton of pro athletes doing this, and
there's nothing like meeting those guys.
So cool. It's fun. It's cool. 16-year-old me geeks out a little.
Yeah, well, of course you got to have a fangirl in you a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But I never feel blown away. I just feel like this is a person that I need to talk to the project about, and I really want to explain the mission.
Yeah.
I don't feel chills. I'm just like, I had an instance where...
Yeah, you've been good at a sport. You're paid a lot of money for it. Or,
Yeah,
hey, you got a good break, got a movie.
Yeah, for sure. And and listen, I was a huge sports fan as a kid. So it's like a couple of years ago, me and Nate were hanging out at the Super Bowl, and we were hanging out with the old, steel curtain.
Just
we had...
name dropping over here.
Sorry.
Damn. I wish I could be as cool as you one day.
No, you're plenty cool.
Oh, give it a rest.
You got a book.
Stop. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So we got like Mean Joe Green and Hines Ward and some of these other well-known Pittsburgh Steelers at the table, but like 16-year-old me would have freaked out. But inside I'm just thinking like, oh, this is cool, but like how
cool
can I further
opportunity,
this
right?
work? Like it's a cool opportunity. But when an Iwo Jima Marine walks in the room, when I did a project on a Bataan Death March veteran,
that's intense.
when I walk into that room, I don't know what to say.
Well, because what do you say? What do you say?
There's no way you can honor those men.
You
enough.
can't thank them. You can't. There's not a single thing you can do in your lifetime that will show the appreciation you have for that
Isn't
type of
that
human
the
being.
most beautiful thing that can happen to an individual, though? Recognize that you can't live up to that.
You can't. There's no
That's
way.
how beautiful that sacrifice is.
No, it is, and people don't get that. And I hope that they get that eventually, because if they could only understand what some of these people have done, like just the cool. Oh man, who Rogan had. Not to bring him up, but he's so cool. So cool. But listen, seriously, Rogan
Not
had
to bring up the most popular podcast in the world, but we're
well,
going to bring it up.
no, I'm bringing him up because the reason I bring him up is
Rogan all the time.
I've become so educated from that man.
He's had probably about 3 of the veterans I've covered on his podcast.
And the reason I appreciate him is because him and I have similar, him and I both did Taekwondo. Like we're both. We both.
He's actually my brother.
he's secretly my brother.
Did you not know that?
Joe,
He's
if you're
from
listening,
Canada.
I forgot to tell you, you're also my biological brother. We look nothing alike, not even remotely close. But we did a lot of
money.
No, I don't want your money, bro. I don't need your money. I got you. I'm good.
Yeah.
No, but so my husband and I, honestly, this is like our nightly routine. No joke. Like we're super routine, military. even when you get out,
Mm-hmm.
you just have like
Yeah.
a routine you follow, and it's just comforting, right?
Therapeutic.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And even with my 3-year-old, he knows like 7:45 will hit that clock and he'll just start marching upstairs because he knows I'm going to bed after the tub. This is
Right.
the way life is for us. So we go out in the garage and we indulge on some things, and we listen to Rogan. And I found
Yeah.
that, you know, since then, man, the way that this podcast community has honored these people and given them a voice, like the way that you have the project that you're doing, the way that you're giving a voice to veterans, and the way that you're giving a voice to veterans who aren't just our generation. Okay. And that's the important part. These are people who have fought in wars that were never acknowledged the way that they should be. They were beaten down by the government because they were called baby killers and rapists and things like that. These
Right.
people, like you hear, like he had this writer on, Amy Johnson. I'll find out her name. But anyway, she's covered a couple people. She's done some books on the CIA and things like that, right? And I listened to her audiobook recently, and wow.
Yeah.
She interviewed a guy. It's in her book. She interviewed a guy though that was like called like the Quiet Assassin.
Wow.
And like she went to his house like when he was much older, and there was like a knife sitting in a frame and it said, "To the Quiet Assassin."
Wow.
And I'm just like, wow, I just want to be your friend. I want to know all the things you know.
Yeah. Tell me everything.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. How far are we over?
No, we're good.
We're good?
No, I'm just checking our battery, make sure that's good. We're good.
All
No,
right.
We're not
okay,
going
cool.
over.
Well, no,
I
cool.
don't care. Listen.
Yeah, I mean, I
You came
I got a
in-
lot to talk about.
Yeah, and you came. Listen, here's the thing: is let's put it where it is, right? You came in from LA, but you technically came in from Canada. So for all I care, this will be 3 hours, and people just have to live with it. And if we have to split the episodes, we split the episodes. It's all good. I very early on established this format, and that I knew that I don't care how long these go. If the people want to talk for 4 hours, it's 4 hours.
Yeah.
That whole thing of like long form is gone is a complete myth.
It is
and
gone
it goes
in a
back
big
to what
way.
you were talking about, Joe
Yeah.
Rogan.
He's given
He dispelled that.
He's given such a platform to people, and like here's the thing that I found, because we listen to him like almost every day. I have learned more about literally everything in the world and educated myself more on things than I have learned in school. How disgusting is that? Because it's broken down in such a format that you can sit there and understand and just ask questions while you're, you know, it gives talking points. It gives you a time to just sit down and actually allow your brain to wonder. Do you know what I mean?
But you know why that is because he himself doesn't know a lot of it, so he's curious. And he's learning,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
we're learning along with him. So not
Exactly.
only is he an entertainer, but
Oh
he's
yeah,
also wants to be educated, and therefore his curiosity implores us
it makes
to
it.
become more curious.
And but the way that he does it,
but that's a part.
it's hilarious.
and it's a powerful way to educate.
Well, and that's
School
it. And-
doesn't have to be boring.
No, it doesn't. But in the way that he does it, it makes you want to listen more because you're like, oh my God, I learned so much. Like I have so much random information I actually understand. And we actually saw him when he came to Abbotsford, and his opening called it Abbotsville. And the whole audience was like, oh, God.
Oh
But-
no, you lost us.
Oh, you lost. You know, he's a funny
We're
dude.
lost.
But yeah, anyway, so what I'm getting at is like the podcast platform really gives people the fact that you guys are honoring those and speaking to them that aren't just like, you know, the glorified, you know, nowadays, the soldiers we have
Right.
nowadays with all these movies coming up. Now we've got people who really just have been overlooked.
Yeah.
And their stories are forgotten, and they just should never be forgotten.
No. You know, I feel like the mission of this is much more than, you know, getting the exciting stories out there. That's part of it, right? Because you have to have the business concerns of social media and propping what you do up so that more people see it.
That's right.
That's part of that, is covering the Tim Kennedys and guys like that.
Have you done one with
Kirstie
Tim?
Ennis. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did a project with Tim probably 3 years ago. He was one of he was the first, like, celebrity we covered.
Is this
like,
when
vet
he was?
celebrity.
Is this when he? I gotta say. Hold on. Is this when he was doing History Channel and he did the dickhead surface swim? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember.
Okay. So he did. Okay,
It might
so
have been.
okay,
It
so
was a little bit
Hunting
after
Hitler.
Hunting Hitler.
Yeah, hunting.
Hitler
Okay.
started.
So during. So I love like anything history. Right. So the History Channel.
It was just when he was like just gotten out of the UFC and was kind of like in that period where I was unsure.
So he did this one episode, right? And my husband and I were watching it, and we were relaxed, and we're watching it, right? And he goes, hey, I'm gonna go jump. I'm gonna get out of this boat, and I'm gonna go over to this land piece, and I'm gonna surface swim my way over. I started doing just the way surface swim. I'm like, bro, just swim. Like I don't hold a candle to that guy.
Yeah.
But damn, like the surface swim thing for me was just like, it got me. And ever since then, it's been like a running joke between my husband and I. Like when we go to the pool with our son, he's like, you're going to surface swim?
Yeah.
I just thought it was great.
That's hilarious.
It was good. Yeah.
Just did a podcast with him a few weeks ago.
Okay.
And I showed up and I'm like,
I have to follow Tim Kennedy?
He's awesome.
Oh.
Well, and I said, dude, so how are we getting over to the range? And he's like, well,
you went to the range with him?
We're at his house. We did everything. So we're at the house.
I hate you a little bit right now. I hate you a little bit.
I mean, we've got the same initials, same birthday. We're pretty much the same person. We're nothing like except
I don't know.
our initials and our birthday.
I was just going to say, but that guy...
September 1st, that's it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are Virgos?
Yes, we're
Welcome
both.
to my world. Oh, that's why we all get along.
Yes.
We're all Virgos up in here.
He's very outgoing. So we're on. We go out to his backyard, and I'm like, Tim. I'm like, so we were going to work out first at Roca.
How was that?
That was cool. Yeah, I got a lot of photographs of that.
Wait, did you work out with him?
No, I photographed the whole thing. No.
Oh, okay. I was
because
going to say, how was that?
Working out with him is a whole different experience.
That's a different animal. You don't even want to touch that ball game.
Yeah, it's like very rough. And so I've photographed it 2 times now, like 2 different experiences 3 years apart, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And so we're at Roca, and for those not familiar with Roca, that's where Michael Phelps, first trained when he got his bodysuit and all that. Shout out to those guys. They were tremendous. But Tim, I'm like, hey, so all right, let's go out to the front. And he's like, no, we're gonna ride over there. And I said, okay, cool. And his friend Tommy pulls up in a helicopter in his backyard.
That's the guy I'm thinking of. The
Tommy Steiner,
yeah,
probably.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, that's his friend. And so we take the helicopter over, and then we take the helicopter to go get barbecue, which is
just
the
to
most
go get
Texan thing
barbecue.
ever. Salt Lake, yeah. And then so we land next to Salt Lake, and I've never experienced it like that. The barbecue was 10 times better because we landed in a helicopter, and then we go over to the range. Anyways, through all that experience in covering Tim. It's one of those things where I'm not trying to cover that individual. It's just one of the guys who I can use to help prop up the community and showing someone who's very successful.
It's about that. It's about that. Yeah. It's about finding the ways. And here's the thing: our community is large. It looks very larger, but it's actually very small. Really, really, really small, and it's very tight knit. And if you are doing things for the right reasons, those people will give you the time.
Absolutely.
And that's half of it. And here's the thing. They know the value that they bring. And if they can help another veteran in any way, they will. And so that's great that I'm super happy to hear that you got to do that a few times with him. I'm super jelly, Clarkson, that you got to go to the range with him. Like, you don't even know. I haven't been shooting in so long.
Yeah.
Well, so long.
It's convenient too because he lives like backyard. An hour and a half away from me. So it's.
Of course he does. Because why wouldn't he? Because who else do you have in your back pocket that you're like, I'm besties with like everybody?
It's.
Are you friends with the guy who killed Osama too? Should we talk about that? Jesus.
Rob O'Neill. No.
Oh my God! Give it a rest already.
I don't know him, but I know who he is. Yes. Yeah, but those experiences are certainly thrilling. But for me, like I said, why I've wanted to, start having civilians on the podcast too, is there's so many people who have done so much for our community. Yeah. And listen, the civilian community is 98% of us. If we don't get their help, then we got nothing.
Well, no, that's it. And it's about, we have to find ways to, and that's the thing with my company, right? And that's like, not to bring it up, but like, that's exactly what we do, right? Like, so we talk about helping our veteran community, but the way to do that is not to stay within our community. Mm-hmm. It's to reach out to the general public and help them to understand exactly what we're going through and in ways that they can help.
I see that a lot with your brand.
Yeah, well, you have to. Honestly, if you want to get the dollars to the people that need it the most, you need to target the largest community. And for me, that's the fashion industry. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do with our jewelry. And so that's why we're able to donate the money that we donate, participate in the functions we do and things like that, is because you have to target a larger community. You just have to if you want to be successful with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's about, you have to be in the mass public really if you want to get the dollars and the funds to the people that need it the most. And unfortunately that can be a really dirty thing, but if you do it the proper way, it's not as bad. So like for us, it was about recycling the old casings, really. It's about recycling the old casings, turning them into something that is actually fashionable, that can be then targeted and sold in like a Nordstrom and things like that. And then along that, with those products, you tell the story about
and your work is beautiful.
Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. And it's about like telling the story of about the veteran community to the public. So then hopefully that can bridge that gap. Right. And that's my hope with it. And so, like you said, our community is large, but it's actually quite small. And we have to use what we have to do that, to get the money into those hands of those people.
We do. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So going back to your military career, because we somehow keep circling back.
Right.
What in that time do you feel like was your most valuable experience with Blackwatch guys?
Honestly, that whole week was intense. I did one op with them, and as small as it sounded, it's like, oh, it's only one op, but like, honest to God, the one op with them was more than I ever could have asked for. I learned more about myself there and what I was able to do than I've ever learned before. The Blackwatch have a funny way of letting you, what's the word I'm looking for? They have a funny way of letting you learn the hard way, but also in a way that is healthy and interesting. And they were really beneficial to work with because I just really learned a lot about myself. And I also learned that I don't have to prove myself to anybody anymore. And because I know what I'm capable of. And that was a big turning point in my military career for me, was knowing that I can stop trying to constantly prove that I'm this, person that can carry the weight or do the job or be that person to somebody. It was about just accepting me and as a strong soldier that I was. And I just didn't have to prove myself to anybody anymore.
What's that like when you reach that point?
It's intense because you realize that like I'm somebody not to be effed with. And it felt good. I felt strong, and I felt like, I got this. This is nothing can be thrown at me that I'm not going to be able to handle until the McLaren op. And that's when things went sideways for me, really sideways.
What was the mental effect of that?
I was actually discharged from the military. It was considered an injury, and I was sent home from Afghanistan to the hospital. It was so bad. It was that I felt the light switch in my brain go off. I felt that empathy and that it was gone. It was gone. I had nothing there. I was numb. I was dead inside. I couldn't grasp what was going on with me. All I could do was my job. And when they said I was not well enough to do my job anymore and that I was going to be taken away from the only thing that I've ever known and the only thing I ever wanted to do, it was heartbreaking, but not in the sense that you would think. I was so numb inside that I couldn't comprehend what was really truly happening, because they also had me so drugged on pharmaceutical medication that I could barely walk. I wasn't sleeping at night. I wasn't eating. I was telling sergeants off. I was telling colonels where to put it. Like, it was like getting to be a point where things were becoming a chargeable offense because I was so ill.
But there's such a massive psychological effect with medication like that.
Oh, and on top of I had such severe post-traumatic stress disorder that I couldn't be in a normal setting. In the sense that, like, I couldn't be left alone, or I should never have been left alone. And yeah, those drugs, when then you compile that and you just compress that onto a person, and especially when you give them a drug that is not for their injury, because they don't really know how to treat their injury, but it's also not for their weight. It's in a 200-pound man. It's not ideal. Yeah. It's not ideal. No. I have lost so much memory because of the drugs that I was put on.
Wow.
So much memory. I've had so much damage because of it. It was intense.
So the after effects of that were what?
The problem is they had me on those drugs for basically, I was medically released at a 3B med release in 2011, and I was on those drugs for probably another couple of years after that still. So It was memory loss. I couldn't go out in public. I attacked an Afghan family in a Walmart, told them I'd kill their whole family because they were looking at me the wrong way. Like, it was bad. I was not well. Yeah. And now I understand, it's been 10 years since my injury, and I got out in 2011, so it's been a little bit. But now I can understand why I was taken out of the military, and I can understand why I wasn't able to be retrained. Do you know what I mean? Like I can see it in hindsight, but when I was in that, I was a 19-year-old kid who had no idea what was going on with my brain.
Right.
And I didn't know up from down. And all I knew is that they just took a bunch of my friends in front of my face and they weren't going to let me go back outside the wire to enact revenge, essentially. And they pulled me away from my unit without say. And now I was put on a plane by myself and they're telling me your career's over. It was a whirlwind. I'm like, I'm still wearing the bloody clothes that I was wearing when I was collecting McLaren's legs. Like, how can you tell me my career's over? This is my life. These are my people. This is my support system. And then I came back to my unit onto the guns after that op and was not welcomed. It was, we don't believe anything that you're saying. Nothing that you're saying is true. You're lying. There's no way you could have done that. There's no way you could have successfully made it through that. And then I started seeing things that weren't there. It was bad. It was so
What
bad.
is it about that, though? Why do you think that happened? Was it a jealousy thing?
I honestly think they just were jealous I got to go do cool shit. Straight up. I know that sounds like ridiculous to say, and it's not like a me too. Like,
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not that person. If somebody did something or said something to me, I would put them in their place. So it was never about that for me. I think it honestly, truly was
I can tell that about you.
that I got to go do cool things.
Yeah.
They didn't like that. They were bored. They're sitting on the guns and they wanted something to do.
Right.
And I got picked. So I was the special one in their eyes. I'm special in everybody's eyes. But truly though, right?
Yeah.
Like you know what that's like.
Yeah.
You know, when you lose somebody, you watch somebody in front of you, the last thing you want to do is be sidelined.
Yeah.
Tell me I can't go and do my job now. I mean, you're gonna bring out the side of me you're not gonna want to see. But I don't get that option. I don't make that call. So it was hard. It was really rough. I don't really remember much after. I was so drugged out. But I do what I do remember clearly was when I came back to CAF after they sent me. So what they did is after the operation, I went to CAF, went to the hospital, did my clearance with all of the British MPs because once somebody dies, you guys got to go through like the process of like what happened on the op, who did this, who shot who, to make sure it wasn't a friendly fire or like that whole thing. But the British really don't like computers, so they had to handwrite that statement, which took 4 days, which was just awesome. So retelling that story.
It's like mix political correctness with old school
my
technology is the
God,
worst.
It was so
At least we have
bad.
computers in America.
Right.
We
America.
speed that political correctness up.
Well, they were just so terrified, like, of losing, like, they didn't want it to be hacked or anything happen.
Right,
And I can
data.
appreciate that. Data issues, well, they were having that, right? So, so they sent me back to CAF, and they're like, okay, you're going back to the guns. So they sent me back to the guns. When I got back to the guns, I wasn't the same person that left. So I went from being this person, like this, and now I'm even still a lot calmer than I was. But
Wow.
Can you imagine? Isn't that intense to think that there's way worse versions of me?
Kind of want to see that.
Oh, it's terrifying. I'll show you some videos after. It's terrifying. But from what I was when I left to what I was when I came back to the guns was not the same person.
Yeah.
And I went from talking all the time to not saying a word, to not sleeping, to not talking, to not working out, to just standing there. It was bad. It was so bad. Then they put me on an OP. They put me up on the tower one day. And outside of my fob was this little girl and a cow that she used to walk her cow every morning. And her fob, there was a compound outside the fob, not far, pretty close. And I would watch her every morning because my shift was the morning shift. And I always watch her walk. She literally just walked her cow. And like she loved it. She like loved.
Like it was her dog.
Oh yeah, like it was her dog. It was like no big deal. And she would always wave, right? But this time, my eyes saw a gun. And that's why there's 2 people on the tower at all times for situations like this. And so I rack and ready to rock on this little human who was doing nothing wrong. And my buddy looked at me like, did you just chamber around? Like, what
Yeah.
is happening? And I'm like, yeah, she's pointing a gun at us. She's like, no, she's waving to us. I'm like, no, she's pointing a no, she's waving. And so I literally jumped off the tower and I ran into the radio room, into the comms room, because I'm like, this isn't good. And they're like, yeah, you're done now.
Yeah.
They're like, you're done. You're going home. And I'm like, that set me off, right? So then they sent me back to CAF. And at that point, that's when I was really like told like, that shit didn't happen to you. Like that didn't. I'm like, there's literal documentation and like a million other humans that were with me that watched that entire op go down. And you're going to say that to me. And so that's when I started really just hanging. I would sit at the boardwalk all night long And I would sit, a bunch of the guys that were Brits, even though they had to go back out on ops, they would come back and sit with me. And they just stayed with me. And we just drank tea and we played with Benji and we just hung out, and they were my rock. They were the reason that something didn't go sideways in CAF.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Till they sent me home. Yeah, they were
How important is it to have that support system?
It is everything. And if you don't have that, no wonder we have the suicide crisis we have.
Right. I know you come back to the States, or you come back to Canada or England or Australia, come back stateside, and there's nothing there.
Nothing.
And a lot of these guys suffer so much because a lot of the guys that I experienced, being overseas with did not come from solid homes.
No, not at all.
That was a rarity. Like, I got to think that plays a big part of the psychological portrayal, the psychological factor of the World War II guys, and why many of them that I interview say, no, I didn't have PTSD.
No, they will never tell you honestly what they've gone through.
Right. But they feel like that too very often. Like, I just had to do what I had to do. But I think coming back to that solid home and like having that home front behind you and saying, all right, time to move on. Let's go get to work.
Yeah.
I think that is so beneficial. And yet we don't have a lot of that anymore. And so
it's beneficial, but it can also be dangerous too, because in my opinion, and this could be, this conjecture or whatever, but in my opinion, when you come home, if you come home to a healthy home and everybody wants you to just get back to what you're going to get back to or be the way you were, nobody's going to be the same when they come back from that.
No.
And they expect you to be the same.
Right.
And it's for me, it's about the lack of education of what it's like when you come home for the people that are receiving you, like your family and your community. They don't understand why is that? Why is he so angry? Why is he so mad all the time?
And the World War II guys felt that. I'm just pointing to the data points of the lack of suicide and the lack of
course, because
nobody's
they had
killing themselves.
No, and they had no choice because they knew if they killed themselves, that would make them look weak. And second,
it would also set their family back massively.
And they also just left a war. They had left their families for 5-6 years. They were gone, and now they're back and they have to pick up the slack for their family. That's their job. They have no choice. Mm-hmm. We are very different.
Yeah. But I think that's a positive mentally to have a task when you get back.
If you don't have a task,
you're done.
You're done. Yeah. You're hooped. That's it for you.
Yeah.
If you don't have somebody there holding you down, being like watching you at all times, like you're hooped.
Don Graves, like I mentioned before, the guy that I mentioned, he told me, I said, well, you didn't have really any downtime. Like that helped you a lot mentally, right? And he said, no. Like he said, I did have a lot of downtime. He said, you think working in a factory is exciting?
Oh, no.
It's boring. He said, I thought about the war a lot.
Well, because you have time.
He said, so contrary to belief, like he said, the World War II guys, yes, we were busy working, but he said, I had plenty of time to think. He said, I just don't have any negative thoughts about what I did.
You're fighting that nobody has negative thoughts about what they did because it's different. And because there was also... Yes. The war, World War II.
And you have positive feeling back home, too.
Yeah. You come back home and people spit on you. Like, people spit on you. Like, that's the reaction you get. Yeah. It's not, hey, you just liberated us from the Nazis who were murdering 6 million Jewish people unnecessarily.
Yeah. Right.
It's, hey, you're meddling. Let these people live.
Right.
And then also let them come live in your country for free and have all the benefits your veterans have, but instead your veterans are on the streets and there's 1 in 3 homeless are veterans. But you know what? But the thing is you're coming back and you're looking at the perspective differently. If I came back and there was a GD parade being like, you liberated a country where like now, like when we went over to Juneau, he gets to come back to a country that he liberated successfully where women and children are playing on the beaches and they're swimming where they were.
Oh, and they love him.
And they love him.
These new generations love him.
Oh my God. But that's what I'm saying is like when we're in France, there are Canadian flags hanging everywhere, American flags, British flags, because they are so thankful. We do not have that.
You're not going to see that in Afghanistan.
No way in the head. Never. That place is never, ever going to be a vacation spot. It's not going to be a Bosnia again. It's not going to be any of those.
And that's the insane thing, too, because it is a beautiful country in a lot of areres.
It really is. If you're in those areas, I particularly was not.
You were not. I'm thinking probably more of the Eastern Ridge. And But I've seen some videos of some of those.
Stunning.
Recreational parks and stuff. The national parks they have things that we don't have here.
Oh no, of course they do. But it's because they have found a way to live through war in succession in such a way that it's normal.
What is it though? What changed? Because and I don't. You love history. I've read The Kite Runner, and and I've heard a lot from the people that lived back in that day. Kabul was in a state where it was almost in New York City.
It was. I
you had
know
people
some
walking
people.
around without headdresses. With the women were not wearing burqas.
Oh
they
no,
were
shorts and
wearing
t-shirt,
regular.
getting ice cream, like it's no big thing.
Like and that you're talking about like 1950s,
The 90s.
60s.
No, even the 90s, the early 90s.
Yeah, well, even then.
Yeah.
But you're talking about that being a reality, so obviously the Taliban stepping in changed that. But what is that we have not been able to get back to that? Do you think?
I honestly think that it's
because we're not there yet.
No, God, no,
not even close.
Not even remotely close. Excuse me. No, I honestly think it's a lot of it has to do with the social media platforms. We have now given this enemy tools to spread their message on a level. And our media has given them tools to spread such fear that we have opened up the floodgates. And honestly, like you said, I know some people that lived in Afghanistan, born and raised in Afghanistan. Yeah. They're Canadians, and they've lived there, like they've lived here since they left. But I mean, they were there in the 90s. Like one of their daughters went to med school there. Like she showed me pictures of them in like skirts and dresses, getting ice cream at 6 o'clock, walking around. Like that was not a thing like that. When I talk about it,
doesn't even sound believable.
Oh my! It's you after what you and I've
seen. The pictures.
Oh, you do, because you're like, there's no way. But then when everything came in and the Taliban came in and Sharia law came in and that just religious pull, and I honestly think it's an indoctrination of the younger generations have gone from the Soviet war, seeing their parents fighting that, to now we're fighting those kids that were there during the Soviet war.
Yes.
You killed my family, I'm going to kill you.
Yes, absolutely. And you're also talking about a lack of education.
Oh, there's none.
I mean, especially amongst the young women, but, it's prevalent in every part of that country. As the Taliban first tries to shut down, that system of education. And so only the top players are educated, right? Because,
very rarely, too, at that point.
But the ones of those that are educated are coming back to these American, British, and Canadian schools, and then going back over there and then saying, oh, no, you don't need that. It's the Western democracy way of education, and we don't want you knowing all that. We don't want that information is not true. They're going to try to create you and make the big Satan that you are.
Well, it's because they, in my opinion, at least in what I've seen, so I can only speak to what I've seen, but like from what I've seen is they just don't want. Here's the thing, and this is not a women deal, but they don't want uprising. They don't want anybody telling them no. They don't want anybody telling them that they're wrong, and they don't want anybody losing. They have control right now, and it's a control thing. It's never been anything but control. And the second you have control over a type of people, a body of people, anything like that, you're going to get that one person who's going to take it too far, and that's exactly what's happened.
Yes.
They're taking it too far. Sharia law, like this, stoning women because they look at a soldier.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So now they have to be murdered by like the largest rocks they can find. And like the last sun gets to drop it on, like the last rock gets to drop it on their head. Like it's a disgusting way to be looking at a culture. But here's the thing. It's a religion thing. And Afghanistan will never be liberated in that sense because they don't believe in what we believe in, and that's okay, and we need to just let that be what it is. But because of the day and age that we live in with technology and with social media and with the accessibility of the drop of a dime, you can type a message, you're indoctrinating people in the United States and the rest of the world that would never have been exposed to Sharia law or murder or lone wolf attacks or how to build a bomb with a pipe cutter or like the things that they come up with. Yeah. It's widespread.
Well,
right?
And the educational process is interesting to me too as well, because you're talking about also the social media it's a very great point that you made. Social media is such a powerful tool, and it's creating a lot of problems as well.
I don't think we actually realize how powerful it would be until it's too late.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
And, we're talking about something, too, within the American people where you see a problem overseas and you go, oh, how come we're not fighting a war to liberate those people?
We feel the need of, and that's the same
thing. And then 2 or 3 years later, we're screaming against that.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's like, okay, wait, so you guys asked us to go to war, and
Yeah.
now we're going,
and
now
you don't like
hate
it,
us for
and
it.
now you hate us for
Yeah.
it. So we're coming back, and we're homeless
And then
now.
we didn't finish the job.
And then we didn't finish the job. You told us the way to finish it. We can only finish the job if we're allowed to finish the job. But when you have the media coming at you constantly, and they're constantly bombarding you saying you're doing the wrong thing, you're dropping bombs on the wrong people. War is messy.
Oh, yeah.
War is dirty. War is angry and violent and gross and just disgusting and traumatizing. And we cannot win a war or go do our jobs when we're being criticized for doing our jobs.
Mm-hmm. No.
It's no different anywhere else. It's like being criticized for building a car. You're building the car the wrong way. Well, that's the way I was told to build it, but that's the wrong way for that person. But that's the way I'm told to build it. And so, and that's what it comes down to. You are creating this belief that we need to be fixing these people everywhere in the world. We need to be liberating these people everywhere in the world, but we can't do it when you're tying our hands behind our back. Mm-hmm. It's just not possible. It's just not reality. And that breeds a culture of the soldiers coming home, and all of a sudden the suicide crisis and the homelessness is acceptable to people. And there's no right or wrong answer, but in my opinion, the right answer is start looking after the kids you send over there. Why is this so hard? Why is this such a difficult conversation? Why is it so difficult for politicians to stand up for the people they're so willingly and willy-nilly to just send over to fight a war?
Right.
Why is that so damn hard?
Super hard. And
but
I don't know why it shouldn't
not,
be.
though. It's common sense, and there's the lack of common sense.
They make it hard.
They make it hard because they'll be scrutinized by the media. They'll be scrutinized by anybody.
And that all goes back to political correctness.
Oh, it's
which
disgusting.
Has no place in war. I mean,
it doesn't. It has no place in when soldiers come home. It has no place in mental health. It has no place in war itself.
Yeah, I know. And that's, I think the social media point that you made was really great because it points out a glaring problem in our society, right? Which is like freedom, and allowing freedom is inherently dangerous to allow freedom. It is. It's super dangerous.
It's not wrong, but it's dangerous.
It's super dangerous. I love freedom. And
beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
Yeah. Going back to the Tim Kennedy says, I prefer dangerous freedom. And
dangerous. Yeah.
It's true.
He's
it
not
is
wrong.
dangerous.
He's not wrong.
Especially in a society now where we have technologies that really allow you to go beyond that and do certain things that just cannot be almost controlled. So you're talking about having to trust people inherently, right? And that's what freedom is having to trust people.
And we don't have that trust, though. That's the difference. Is we can't. Here's the thing. We can't be trusted at this point.
Yeah.
And not us in the American and Canadian sense, but we can't trust that other countries we're fighting against are gonna go by the same rules. They're not.
Right.
And that is why you're seeing what you're seeing. And that is why people are feeling what they're feeling, because it's almost, they feel like it's a human rights violation. But really, at the end of the day, we're following the law. We're doing our job.
Yeah.
It's when we come home that's where the true human rights violation happens.
True. Yeah.
That's where the true disaster happens. That's when the people really, truly get left behind.
Yes.
And that is the epidemic in which we have the 22 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's disgusting that somehow we've been talking about this since the war started, of our our soldiers coming home now being veterans. One, not having, any retraining for schooling. Two, not having even a home to come home to. And one of the things I've learned in therapy for the past 8 years that I've gone every single week, shout out to Dr. Greg Passy and Ma Casquetta for keeping me off the ledge for the past 8 years of my life. But the one thing I've learned is that nobody's going to change unless they want to change. Not only that, nobody's going to change if you don't give them the opportunity to change. And nobody's going to change unless you give them the tools to change.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where our governments on every country that's involved in this war has failed us. They have failed us. They are so quick to send us. They're so quick to use us as a tool. But they are the last person. You'll hear crickets when you call for help.
Yep.
It's just disgusting. Anyway, that's where I think the true humanity and the fact that we can't trust our own people, and it's been proven we can't trust our people. We can trust them to send us over to do the dirty work, or they're not willing to look after their mess when they get home.
Yeah, and I think that's where the punishment phase comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we come back and then you hear about all these guys who are being tried for war crimes, or you're like hearing the stories and you're going, oh my gosh, like that's not, and not to get into politics too much of it, but
no, but it's reality, and that's
reality.
the truth.
And it's been one big thing that I have been a fan of lately, is seeing quite a few of these guys having those, convictions overturned.
It needs to happen, and it should have happened a long time ago. If you haven't done anything wrong, I mean, come on.
Yeah, and if you've tried and tested a guy, like I've been following particular this, story of Eddie. And Andrea, and Eddie was a Navy SEAL over in Iraq, and during this latest war of ISIS, and I've since come to know about the family a little bit. But he was tried, and obviously, first of all, he's being held without bail. Which
I was just gonna say, is he still being held? Right?
No, he's out now.
He's out now,
but he
right?
was out for he was in jail for 10 months.
How is that
with
legal?
No bail. Yeah,
How is that legal?
I mean, UCMJ is just wild. I mean, you're allowed to do whatever.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing. There's no oversight.
Yeah, there's the oversight is like, well, you're in the military, so we don't have the normal rules.
Yeah, but that's not reality, and that's also like, are they on a reality show where they think they can just make the rules up as they go like that? Because that's not how that works.
Yeah, it's and here's the thing. That whole, it was a big dog and pony show, I feel like. But then when he was, let out and finally let out on bail so he could speak to his lawyers properly and have a chance at defending himself, well, then, they had the whole trial, and, he was found to be innocent. And then yet the Naval Special Warfare is still trying to punish him when a president pardoned him.
Yeah, but
It's
you know
wild.
why they're doing that, though? You know why they're doing that, right? It's because it's the specific president that pardoned him. No shade, being thrown. It's because the political climate in which the United States has now.
Yes.
That is why, because they
us versus them type of thing.
And so it doesn't matter if here's the thing: if Obama pardoned him, this would have been left alone.
Yeah, I think so.
But I honestly, we watch your politics. I know more about your politics than I know about my own. I don't even know when we vote. I think we just had a vote.
I think most British people do too.
Well, it's because you guys are comical. No offense, seriously, no shade thrown.
It's a Disneyland of
You know what it is though? It's
stories.
because it's a Disneyland of stories, but it's also because it's the way the press tell it. Right? They make it interesting. It's clickbait. So
it turns into a Kim Kardashian story when you're dealing with somebody's human life.
And here's what's disgusting about that is they've used it as a pawn for clickbait, and they've used it in the way that this man is innocent, and because it's the specific president that you do not like, you're going to keep going after him? Give it a rest already. He's been proven to be innocent.
Yeah.
When is enough enough? But that's what I mean.
Yeah, go after go after the president if you want to go after the president. But if you're going after the man who fought in wars and is heavily decorated,
heavily decorated,
and you're going after that man consistently based on hearsay, there's a massive problem.
That's just conjecture, and that there's more than a massive problem. And that right there comes back to trusting humanity and why here's the thing. We need to trust humanity in the sense of schooling, healthcare. There's things that you can trust humanity with for a minute amount. But when it comes to things like this, we're not educated or well equipped to deal with that, because none of the people that are judging us when we get home have been around anything. They have no context.
No.
They could literally, there could have been a guy standing over top of you, stabbing you in the face with a knife in the eye, and you could have shot him in cold blood. Consider, I'm doing the bunny ears here because they could say it's cold blood, but you're defending yourself. Well, he didn't have a weapon. Well, a knife's still a weapon, but is it? Do you know what I mean? They'll never understand what they're judging. They'll never understand what they're listening to when they say, "Oh, this happened,"
and you'll never understand the stress of being in that situation.
No, you won't. And
sorry, sweetheart, you just won't.
You just won't. And so they're allowing people to try him, or that were trying him, that can never truly understand war, and the only thing that they've ever seen close to it has been a movie.
Yeah,
I get being tried by a jury of your peers,
right?
But is that really your peers?
No,
not
if they haven't been to combat.
No, it isn't, and that's what I mean. If they had been to combat and it was them that was trying them, he would have been off the first day.
Yeah,
because they would have been like, "Buddy, I would have done it anytime."
Yeah,
anytime.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So no, yeah, it's a tricky situation with social media. It's a different type of animal, and we have unleashed something that none of us can, we don't know how to control because this is all new to all of us, right?
And also because you can't control it.
And that's another thing.
Yeah.
And number 2 is you can't control it.
Yeah.
And you've created this link to everywhere in the world where now the enemy can get to anybody and they can indoctrinate anybody. So now they don't even have to travel. They don't have to come live here for 15 years.
Nope.
They don't have to go to Princeton or do all this and get all this money and like
you can
pretend.
YouTube it like you said
can
earlier.
YouTube this, and you can literally cause mass harm in your own country without even ever talking to anybody. And all you have to say when the news interviews you, if you're not shot and killed, is that you did it because of blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And now they're going to use you as a martyr.
Yep.
So I don't know that there's ever going to be a world without war anymore.
Yeah.
I know that sounds negative, but like when you look at the climate and like everything, it just feels like it's never ending.
Well, to take you back, as I said, I'm a Christian. The Bible says very openly that there will always be wars and rumors of wars at a certain point, and I see that to be true. It's just a fact. Once that
forever.
kicked off, we've always had war, but even in the context of 2001, after that kicked off,
when
I really
towers,
feel like,
the second a tower got hit,
from that hit, it was over. I feel like now in that context, you can't live without some sense of terror.
And that's the thing that I think frustrates me the most about social media is it's not the issues that's most like social media is a beautiful thing. Okay. It allows me to still communicate with the guys I serve with.
It's like any technology can be used for good and bad things.
Exactly. But when you're using it now for the things that we're using it, we can't ever get away from this.
Yeah.
And so at the second that first plane hit, we were hooped.
Yeah.
That was it. This is going to be an ongoing thing forever because now we've created an enemy that we're always going to have our thumb on top of, because if we don't, it's going to come over here.
Yeah.
And that's not fear. We have created a fearful
truth.
Society now. And that's also something that's horrifying because the generation after us is going to grow up and know no peace.
I saw something interesting on a Pat Tillman piece, documentary about him.
Pat Tillman Foundation. I'm going to be working with them soon.
Cool.
Shout out
I want
to
cover his wife for the Caregiver Project. That's like a very big interest of mine. Pat, it was a very interesting thing that, I was watching on this documentary where the towers got attacked and then all the Arizona Cardinals voted that they not play. And Pat Tillman was the only dissenting vote against that.
Doesn't shock me at all.
Yeah, but the guys took that to be non-patriotic. But what he was really saying is we can't show fear because if we show fear, they win. And if they win, we lose freedoms.
Exactly.
Because that's terror.
But look what's happening now.
Terror causes a loss of freedom.
Exactly.
So Pat voted then, and then Pat later became an Army Ranger.
Which is
so
insane.
he was clearly the most patriotic of any of them.
Absolutely.
But that moment was a defining moment for me in hearing that, because I thought, that's so true, man. Like in that moment when terror became a real issue is when you start to lose your freedoms, and then that's when they win 100%.
100%.
And now, because of what we're talking about right now with social media, right? We can never have freedom in the context that we had it. It just can't exist.
It won't. And in the second that the World Wide Web was created, that's what happened. And, philosophy, you'll learn this in university, like, the singularity was going to always happen no matter what we chose to do. Technology will always advance, and it will advance at a pace that we cannot keep our thumb on anymore. And that's what you're starting to see with this constant change and new iPhone, new this, new that. And it's because it's always updating, it's always getting better, and it'll get better faster. And we can choose to use it for a positive thing, or we can choose to use it for a negative thing. And then, like, when you see people talk about where were you when the towers went down, like you and I spoke previously before the podcast, you have no idea. You had no clue, inclination, anything that was going to be the turning point for the entire world.
Oh, yeah.
And it is crazy how it happened in one space. And it happened in multiple with the Pentagon and things like that. But it happened so significantly in that one space. And the second, and it was kind of the birth of the internet at the same time. And when you watch,
it all came together at that time.
It all came together beautifully for that enemy. And the second that happened, we all became afraid of an enemy. And even if we didn't have the reason to be afraid of him, we were.
I remember,
Instant fear.
Yeah, I was 14 years old. I was in the 8th grade, and I remember I remember hearing my mom, like, I told you I was homeschooled, so I was home, and I remember hearing my mom just, like, gasp.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, no, like, come in here, Tim. And they said, come in. And as I came into the room, I saw the tower smoking, and I thought, oh, wow, man, what happened? Like somebody flew a plane. It was an accident. That's horrible.
I think everybody thought that initially, was not.
And as I'm watching, I see that second plane go into the second tower, and I was like, oh. And I remember the immediate feeling of that. And my mom said to me, she said, I want you to write this down about how you feel right now, because you remember this forever.
Oh, yeah.
And I wrote it down. I wrote it down on a page. And I remember just feeling so afraid, number one. It was the first time as an American I'd ever felt afraid.
And there's your fear.
Yeah,
right
my
there.
fear. It was there. It's just, but the dependent, like General Patton said, is it all depends upon how you act upon that fear.
Exactly.
That's where courage comes into play. But so the courage states, oh, right, we have our freedom and we need to defend that. We don't act just because of the fear. We act because we know we have to.
Exactly.
And so, but I saw that hit the tower, and I thought, and I just thought I thought things will always be different. But I did not know that it would be as extreme as it is.
To the extent in which it is. And here's the thing. We have bred the next generation to be afraid of everything.
Yeah.
We have bred ourselves to be afraid of everything. And not in the sense of just like general fear, but fear of speech, fear of just doing certain things, being certain places, talking a certain way. You're always afraid, did I offend you? Did I say this wrong? Did that sound racist? Did that sound prejudiced? But that's the thing. When did that happen before?
Yeah.
That was never a thing.
I don't think it was a thing.
I don't even think like there was Columbine. But up until that point, what was there after that?
Yeah.
And none that I can remember. Sandy Hook, but that was much later on. But I can't remember a time when people were afraid to go to a baseball game or to a basketball game in a large crowd or a concert, because people are so afraid. I mean, look what happened in Las Vegas a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Was it a year ago?
It was a couple years.
Was it a couple years now?
Yeah.
I was there right after that. That's why I can't quite remember. But like I said, I remember I was with the Towers, and I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
Like we all, it changed the world and the way we view the world. And the thing I think was the most terrifying is knowing that it would never be the same, but also the unknown of not knowing how that would affect us. And now in hindsight, when you look back, that was the turning point in my life, and I was only 11.
Yeah.
How crazy is that when you think about that?
It's insane.
People joined the military later on, not because they would normally have done that. If 9/11 never happened, none of us would be where we are right now.
No.
And it's not to say that's a bad thing, but it is to say that things have changed.
Yeah.
And they've changed for the permanent. And you either be fearful or you learn that you can be okay. It's okay. You don't have to be afraid of everything. It's truly not that bad.
There's a difference between being fearful and between being educated and knowing your surroundings.
Yeah,
I saw in a parking lot a few days ago. I was walking kind of off to the side of this young woman as she was walking through the parking lot, and she kept looking back at me very pointedly.
Because you were walking too close to her.
But
creep.
I was smelling her hair.
Okay, well, yeah, that's
well, that's scary.
That's not. I'm not allowed to do that anymore.
Wait, I'm not. Okay,
I thought that was still on the agenda.
I had my hand on the back of her neck. That was
no?
weird.
That's not acceptable anymore.
I was literally like 20 feet off to the right of her.
Yeah, not even.
And I was
like
making sure to not be right behind her because I didn't want her to be afraid.
But do you hear how you just said that?
Why should I?
Why should you have to
crazy.
worry about being afraid?
Yeah, I'm worried about that. Already I'm thinking politically correct because I got to be off to the right of her and not
so
scare
she can
this
see
woman.
you,
She's
and
got to see me so I don't get
pepper
me
spray.
and
or tased.
or tased or
One
killed.
Or any of them.
So I'm in Texas, could be killed.
Most likely shot.
And I am off to the right of her, and she keeps pointedly looking back at me. And like the third time she looked back, and I said, she looked at me and said, "Good job." And she's like, well, my dad's in the military. So that's great. That's good for you.
Yeah, that is
There's
impressive.
a very big difference. You have a knowledge of your understanding of the surroundings. That's fine. But to have that make you fearful is the problem.
And that's where we let them win. So if you can teach yourself how to be aware and conscious of your environment, which most people aren't, and that's why you see their heads down walking with their phones and they trip and smack their face off poles, which makes for the best YouTube videos.
Or walk off a cliff and die, which we do not recommend. Oh my God,
that has happened. What is wrong with the world?
But also social Darwinism.
Oh,
so, we're sorry.
No comment.
Yeah.
Are we sorry though?
You were on your phone.
That's on you.
We're sorry you died.
That's on you.
Yeah.
But that's it, right? It's about finding that acceptable, healthy fear. Yes. And it doesn't have to be a fear. It can be just an awareness of your surroundings. Yes. Simple as that. Yeah. If you're aware, then you're safer.
Awareness is not fear.
No, it's not fear.
You learn that really quickly as a soldier.
Awareness is not fear. No. Everything you have to be aware of. Fear is when somebody's pointing a gun at your face.
Yeah. And
yes. Never mind. It's not that. I don't want to say it's not that bad, but it's it's part of the job.
Yeah.
Walk that back a little bit.
There is a big difference though in the knowledge of that, and like understanding the context of being in a place where, you know, and nowadays the truth of it is that you need to have awareness of your surroundings, and having awareness of your surroundings does not make you fearful. It just puts you in a place where you have the knowledge of that surrounding.
It's the knowledge, exactly. The education.
But let me tell you, having been overseas and being in that place, it did not make me scared. I felt like, okay, well, I know like there are this many exits in the room. I know where I shouldn't have my back turned to. I know that I should not move past a window without pointing my weapon towards that window and being ready for anything in that space. There's just little things that don't make you more fearful. Your neurons are just firing a little faster.
Yeah, it's just awareness. It's strictly awareness. Right. It doesn't have to be any more, any less, and it doesn't have to be looked at any more, any less.
Absolutely.
It's that simple. But it's that the issue becomes when that becomes overactive fear.
Yes.
And that's, I think, what...
hyper-focus.
And I think that's where the media has done a beautiful job. They've made everybody hyper-focused and hyper-terrified.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate.
And that becomes the loss of your freedom.
And welcome to the loss of the freedoms. It's like getting real dark. It's like you could make it like
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming to the
Communism.
loss of freedom. Welcome. We are now about to talk about your rights all being taken away. Nobody judge.
Yeah, exactly. It does become a massive fear though, because people in those spaces, I think all of that starts for a good reason, and then people in those spaces who are directly evil take advantage of the loss of those freedoms.
It's no different than anything that's happened down the road. It's giving that freedom. It's no different than anything else. You're given that freedom. When you abuse that freedom, that's when things like that happen, and it's terrifying. But it doesn't need to be, and it's about shutting that down quick.
You recently kind of had, if you don't want to get into this, you can cut this out of the podcast, but you recently had something, with Justin Trudeau where, we were talking about pronouns, right? And
what a winner that guy is.
Like you don't want to make people feel bad, of course, right? Yeah, that's commonly known. I don't want to make anyone feel bad. But, well, actually I do want to make a lot of people feel bad. But I was in an infantry company. But you don't want to persecute to pain, right?
No, I feel you.
So, there came out this legislation where we were going to start, where Canada was going to start prosecuting people for speech and for improper pronoun usage, which would have been the first type of legislation ever.
It's never going to happen.
And it should not. And it would be a very scary world where it did. But, I remember...
He just lost majority, so he's not going to pass. Thank God, right?
Yeah.
He just lost majority, so he's that's never going to get through the House. But
and where you have somebody like a YouTuber, like Jordan Peterson having to actively speak out against something like that.
Yeah, like what? But that's what's crazy to me is like he has built. Jordan Peterson is a brilliant human being, also Canadian, no big D. Just shout out to the Canadians.
I think a lot of my crowd loves Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, I think everybody does because why wouldn't you? Yeah. But the reality is that. The way that our governments are set up, he should never have had to be that person.
No,
this should just be common damn sense.
Yeah,
and that's why it's so infuriating. Yes,
that's what I'm going back to. About
that's what I mean.
Freedoms.
Yeah, and so Trudeau isn't okay. Here's the thing with Trudeau. For the very minimal amount I know about my government, which is actually sad to say, what I do know is that he's a And I'm okay with saying it. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that are my supporters, honestly, that are Trudeau fans. And here's the thing. You haven't had to go through or deal with the system in which he has screwed up so horrifically by closing VA hospitals, by closing VA offices, by giving, we have case managers that have 75 to 100 people per case manager.
That's sick.
No, it's disgusting. You cannot properly look after your veterans.
There's no way.
No. And those are being shut down. We had a terrorist sue our government and win.
No.
$10.4 million.
When in reality, that
He
guy should
won.
have been shot in the back of the head.
Well, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Texas opinion here. Shoot him in the back of the head.
This podcast is brought to you by Texas. Nothing else, Texas.
Oh, you guys give him $10.4 million? Here, give that here. I can do 1,000 projects and we'll shoot you in the
Texas.
back of the head.
But the truth is the thing is that we had, the truth of the matter is everybody is going to feel a certain way about their politics. And
Right.
that is your God-given
Absolutely.
right. And I am fine
I've never
with that.
had any bias against anything in this because it's not my job to
Because
speak
it's
on that.
not your job to speak. Exactly. Yeah. But it is our job to call people out when they're trying to invoke legislation,
That
which
hurts us.
That hurts us strictly.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, there was a soldier during a town hall when Trudeau was trying to get in the first time. Did you all hear about that down here?
Probably did, but
it was
probably
bad.
in
Yeah,
the middle of a bunch of news.
It's been well, yeah. Your news cycles are vicious, but it was in a town hall and it was live on television. And a soldier stood up, missing a leg from Afghanistan, and he goes, he was telling I don't have anywhere to go. Like I have no money. Like VAC turned me down. Just these issues. And Trudeau looked him squarely and goes, I don't have anything else to give. And this is right after he just paid that terrorist $10.4 million.
Oh, my gosh.
So, but that's what I'm saying is they will never understand until you send their children off to war. Laws will never change.
Yeah.
Legislation will never change. Our freedoms are always going to be our freedoms, but they're only going to be our freedoms if we're going to keep pushing for them to be our freedoms. People are always going to try to stop us from saying things, doing things. And yes, there's a politically correct way to say things.
Yeah.
And there's a respectful way to say things. And then there's just
that's just being a professional.
Well, that's it. And that's just being a general good human. But then there's ways when you tell us that we can't say something the right way. I don't know everybody's pronouns. I half the time don't even know what they'll mean. I just know that I call you hi. Hi. That's what I get. I mean, I don't know everything. And you can't, here's the thing with that law. You cannot expect everybody to know everything.
Yeah.
And so that's why that'll never work and never pass.
And that's when you start calling ignorance a crime.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. But that's what happens with those war crimes.
Oh, exactly what happens. It's straight up ignorance. And that's what I said. Being tried by a jury of your peers is never truly being tried by a jury of your peers.
Right.
Because those peers will never have seen or done or been in the situation where it's been you or me.
Yeah.
And that's
true.
That's just the end. And that's just the end of it. That's just what it is.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Kelsi, I really want to get into it with you about what you've done since, because you've created this incredible company that is very artistic. You got Kevin Hart, you got Ellen.
You want me to rattle the names?
Just rattle.
I got the
them.
names.
Tell me.
They're beautiful.
Tell me the names.
We got Channing Tatum,
Oh,
Jenna
wow.
Dewan, Kevin
Wow.
Hart, Julianne Hough, Michael Bublé, Jesse Tyler
You're
Ferguson.
allowed to say that here. He was our president.
Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Whitney Cummings, Kat Dennings, Michael
Whitney Cummings,
Thornton. Yeah,
too.
what's
Wow.
up? She's dope. I got some photos. I'll show you her. Her and Beth are really tight. Ellen DeGeneres. We were on her 12 Days of Giveaway. We also got to do a cool project with Beth and her.
Cool.
Yeah, and very recently, a lovely gentleman who also stars in Band of Brothers has recently come
I
on
saw that
board.
picture, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I remember Band of Brothers very well.
And Band of Brothers. It's coming back out.
Yeah.
I know. I was
so many great actors.
I was
in
talking to him about that project. Actually, he
that. Michael Fassbender in a minor role. Was
Just
a total stud.
Oh, I know. All of
I
them were
love
just
him.
total studs.
Yeah.
Man,
That movie, that series
was unbelievable.
amazing.
Well,
yeah.
and it's so needed to come back, right?
Yeah.
So no, yeah. I was really fortunate. Neil lives in Vancouver in our area, and he
So
came
cool.
out to our. We did a rowathon. We did a 24-hour rowathon of rowing machines for Wounded Warriors in Honor House in New Westminster in British Columbia. They're like the Ronald McDonald for veteran families. They look after your entire family, first responders. You stay there as long as you need to. I actually just recently left the board of that just because I got a little bit crazy, but they're a big part of our charity program. And we donated the U.S. portion to Wounded Warriors. And he came out and he rode with us for an hour at the 11 o'clock hour on Veterans Day and Remembrance Day.
Wow.
He did the whole thing and he talked shit the entire time. He's
a true soldier.
He had a Royal Marine, James, beside him. Then he had me and himself, and he was pulling out the hoorahs and the whole thing. And I'm like, you know where you are, right? And you know who you're with right now.
Yeah.
Like, so he was a great sport. He's a huge supporter of veterans and Brass and Unity, and his wife and his kids. And his kids rode. It was honestly, it was beautiful. Yeah. And
wow.
We've been really lucky. Brass and Unity really started just as the form of art therapy. The doctor suggested when I was going through my rough patch that I try that, and I got a drill, a pipe cutter, and a hammer, and I ruined a kitchen table. And my husband did not appreciate that. We still have that kitchen table. But he does now. And I started making jewelry. And to be honest with you, like, I've never been, in case you haven't noticed, you know, I was a professional Taekwondo fighter. I raced moto. I'm not exactly the girly girl. And played soccer, the whole shebang. And so when jewelry came about, that was kind of a really like
that you're so good at it.
Thank you. I have to give my husband credit because he designs a lot of stuff. It's his passion project as well. So, so yeah, no, I'm very fortunate. But and I started making it. Somebody saw it. Somebody liked it. Store asked about it. Started selling to stores. Cut to, you know, it's been 4 years in November this year, which has been crazy from the kitchen table till now. And we have donated over $500,000. We have over 200 retailers carrying the product. We sell online. Our whole purpose is really not that we're trying to become billionaires here at all, by any means. That's not what we do. I don't take a paycheck. I really don't take anything from it. If anything, I put into it, and I pay my girls. And I pay my girls because I have got ride or die girls. And I mean, they don't work for me. They work with me. We're a team fully, and I can't do a single thing without these girls. And they're everything. I mean, they keep it going when I'm gone and I'm doing these types of things. And without them, I don't know what I would do. So the company has grown from a kitchen table to a small room in the house to a full basement to a full building and a warehouse and factories. And now we produce our product and we ship it all over the world. And 20% of every piece that we sell, whether it's anywhere, we donate the proceeds. So if the product sells in the United States, the money stays here. If the product sells in Canada, vice versa, everywhere else, the money stays there. So we donate to whoever buys, and if you buy more in the States, then more money stays in the States, you know, vice versa. But we're really fortunate because we've kind of broken into you know, we went from backpacking, like these trade shows, like not where I'm supposed to be at all, pregnant, not allowed in there, like handing out line sheets and samples, and to having really super, super loyal clients. Wow. And I've been really lucky. I mean, I've gotten to meet amazing foundations. Like we were just on The Doctors yesterday. We did an episode with a U.S. Marine who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And it turned out he was on the same tour as me. And he just lost his house in a fire, and he had his 4 children in there and his wife, and luckily they made it all out. Fortunately, very fortunately. And we were just able to donate $10,000 to them. Wow. And get them a bunch of other help. And that was because, and it was by fluke. I contacted a Heart of a Veteran out of Chicago, run by Jordan Howell. And, I said, hey, like I have an opportunity to help somebody. Do you have anybody that really needs it? She goes, yeah. And that charity, Heart of a Veteran, flew the entire family out to LA, put them up in a hotel, their kids included. And it was just such a beautiful, you know, show of humanity, and that people actually cared for a second. And so that's what my company does. We make jewelry and sunglasses for men and women, and it's just really, it's the vehicle to get the money in the hands of people that need it. That's all it is. And it's a source of hope for a lot of people. People wear our stuff when they're going through a hard time, and I get emails all the time saying, like, I've looked down at the bracelet and it just like gave me that extra, like, I'm gonna be all right. Like, I've got a team of people behind me, and we have people reach out all the time. Just to talk, say, I'm going through something. Is there anybody you know that I can talk to? And like, we're not in the mental health deal, but we are a jewelry company that just has the resources.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what we do now. It's been really, really fun.
And you, as a Canadian veteran, helped out an American brother. How crazy is that?
Why? All the people that donated toward that $10,000, I'm just going to rattle off their names because it wasn't just me. It was TWS. It's also a Canadian charity out of Toronto, Canada. Together We Stand. They're huge. They look after the families of the people who are when their people are deployed. The families, they look after them. They get them for Christmas. All these amazing things. So together we stand. Shout out to them. They're amazing. We even had I called my accountant, called some of her clients. A construction company in Vancouver, X3 Construction, shot in some money for this family. Then we also had another. So we had myself, X3. We had Together We Stand, and we had Jordan Howell with the Heart of a Veteran. Who else did we also get money from? My God, people have just been helping these guys out so much. I've been really, really, really thankful. Let me go through my list because I don't want to forget anybody. This family really,
that's important. Yeah.
Well, this family really is going to have, a lot of help in their life now because of this. And that's exactly what we wanted. And our goal was not to politicize their pain, but our goal was to show the world that there are people in our country and in your country that are suffering from, PTSD, that might not be in the military anymore, and they still go through some serious things. And that is the difference, is if you work with people who care, like my community does, we're going to be able to help a lot of people. The other one I was mentioning to say is called Heads Up Foundation. Okay. They're a mental health foundation. So for men, specifically for suicide prevention with men. So it's like headsup.com. And every foundation that donated to This American has all been Canadian.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really, really beautiful thing.
That's awesome.
It shows the strength of community, and it shows that people do care if you just find the right ones. Unfortunately, we have to find the right ones. Hopefully one day everybody will care. Yeah. That's the goal, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's fantastic.
We got a couple guest questions that I wanted to get to.
Let's get it.
We're trying to, institute this as a regular part of the project.
Absolutely, and so you should. These are the people listening. We want to answer these.
So we got a question from Macy.
Hi, Macy.
In Nashville,
Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I got some stores down there.
Yeah. You have stores in a lot of places.
Yes, I do.
I'm doing
it's
well.
About no. It's just about that hustle, baby. It's about that hustle.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
No, we're doing well in the sense that we're making a lot of change.
Then that is all you can hope for.
That's right.
Right there. All right, let me see this. So the question was, let me find it.
Struggle City over there, what?
Oh, yeah. I know, I'm kidding. I'm not doing this right.
That's all right.
We're going to have to edit some stuff out.
Nah, you'll be all right.
Just do it. Just leave this on here.
Editing is overrated. You know what? While you're finding the questions there, Macy, while he's struggling to find your question, I'm going to plug my book right now.
Mm-hmm. Plug it.
I'm going to plug it. So,
yes.
All right, team. So I recently just finished a book that's going to be coming out in September 2020, and we're going to be donating portions of the proceeds of that book to, A Heart of a Veteran. We're going to be donating it to the Veteran Project itself. So we're going to be doing a lot of great things with this. So basically, it's just the life story of me. Really, it's my memoir, and was purchased before it was wrote. So I'm hoping that it's an interesting and, jaw-dropping, but yeah, gripping story. Here's the thing is I feel like in our community, there's a lot of women that have served but haven't necessarily told their stories. So I'm hoping that this maybe will open a floodgate for our women in our other community, knowing that their stories are important. We've all gone through things together, and I think that this is a big way to open that up. And I'm hopeful that it can be, and I hope it can also be a tool for mental health. I mean, we put a lot of tips and tricks in there and things of, diagnosis. If you're not sure, you see somebody that you love, you care for, and you're seeing signs and symptoms, just rip that page out and give it to them. Say, hey, you feeling any of these? Because if you are, let's just chat about it. It doesn't have to be a thing. Yeah. Let's just see. So the book's going to be called Brass and Unity. It's going to come out on our site at brassandunity.com, but it's also going to be selling in Indigo, chapters, things like that. We'll definitely hit you up with it before and let you guys know where you can get it, but it's going on pre-sale pretty soon on our site. But just know that every time you buy one of those books, it's going to change a life. And that's really what that it's all about, is just helping those that can't help each other and help the living, right?
That's important.
Honor everybody that we've served with, but this is our way of helping now. So you got Macy's question?
Yes. Do you mind if I take you live?
No, let's do it.
Okay. So Macy asked...
I'll sit up properly here instead of like a...
No. You're being authentic. You're being real.
Orangutan here.
All
right.
So Macy's question was, what she asked, what can you do? What did you do when you started the business? What was the hardest thing about starting that in Brass and Unity?
Honestly, I think the hardest thing for me, and I think for anybody who starts a business, is starting. It sounds cliche. It's about taking the time and actually doing the damn thing, putting that foot forward and going, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to invest in my time, and I'm going to put my right foot forward. And also, talking to those in that community that you actually want to be a part of, and whether it's fashion, whether it's jewelry, whatever it is that you're interested in, it's about finding people in that community and just picking their brain, asking them questions. You will only learn if you ask. If you don't ask, you'll never get the answer. So I would just say, honestly, first and foremost, be willing to fail. You have to be accepting of that. If you don't try, you'll never know.
Yeah.
So you just got to try, put your right foot forward, and just keep moving.
What gave you the motivation to start that, to push into that?
When it was knowing that this felt good, it felt right. It felt like I, for once, wasn't sitting there staring at the wall, wishing I was back in Afghanistan. This was the moment for me when I knew that becoming a business owner wasn't necessarily what I thought my path would be, but we don't all know what our path is supposed to be. We just know that we can do the best with what we have. So it felt right to me. It felt good. I felt like I was doing the right thing. And I also knew I was doing it for the right reasons. So I knew as long as I gave it my all, there's no way I could fail.
Right. But where do you, when you're working at that, when you're pushing into that, what keeps you going in those moments where you're down?
Oh man, and there's been a lot of down moments. It's about having that support system. Okay. So number one, I'm very fortunate to have a husband that's been by my side, like solid, never wavered. And I also have a team of doctors that keep me level, right? And it's about not being afraid to take medication. It's not about being afraid to ask for help. It's about being willing to ask for help and knowing that doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you, wrong or anything. It's about knowing that if you ask for the help, that could be the thing for you. And in terms of business, that when I'm down and having those moments, it's about knowing that why I'm doing what I'm doing it for the right reasons. And I know that there are people out there worse off than me that need my help. And if this is the only way I can help, then this is the way I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, jewelry's giving you a sense of that. Being able to make that has constructed, you're constructing a piece that's tangible that you're able to touch and hold.
Absolutely.
And turn over to people. They're able to buy that themselves, hold that in their hands, and own a tangible piece of that recovery.
Exactly. And it's about getting the public to understand what we go through using that jewelry. Let it be the conduit for that discussion, that conversation, that mental health, discussion that you might never have had when you see somebody wearing it like Ellen, who is wearing a recycled casing from the military. You would never have thought you would have seen that, but it starts conversation. And that's the number one thing we can do is start the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important. And a lot of those people don't have that education the first
No.
hand, I mean, you see when you see Kevin Hart wearing your jewelry, when you see Ellen wearing your jewelry, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Channing Tatum, people like that, they may not necessarily have an understanding at first of what, you guys have gone through, but through that you're able to, I'm sure you got some stories there.
If that was that easy, if it was that easy to just walk up to somebody and put it on them, my God, I tell you, but I'm telling you right now, I cried so many days sitting on the kitchen table, cutting my hands open with a pipe cutter and a drill, not knowing what the hell I was doing. Like, I ruined so many things. I hurt myself so many times, but it was about the journey, and it was about accepting that I'm not going to know everything and that there's so much more to learn. It's about so much more to learn. You got to be willing to want to learn, right?
The process
is it all, right?
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Being in that moment.
And we had another question from Dr. Sarah Menace. She was asking, what would you tell people about being a female serving in a combative? What's your argument for keeping females in that role?
I think we need them. Honestly, it's been proven that we're needed. As much as, here's the thing, I have two trains of thought on this. If you can do the job and you can do the job well, you should be welcome in that community. If you can't, accept that you can't. That is not made for you. Doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you wrong. It just means that you tried, and half the battle is trying. And you never know until you try. So there's no fault, right? You can try. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But I do think that there is an argument for keeping women on the front lines. I think that there should have always had women on the front lines. I think that could have prevented some things.
Right.
I really, truly think that it could have. But you can't go back in time. So all we can say is it was beneficial for the units I worked with. I think that they'll all agree. I think that it gives a different perspective and a view on working as a unit itself. The dynamic can be hard. I won't lie. It can be very difficult to have a bunch of men around you that might not want you there. But it's about knowing that what you're doing is right and having conviction in that and holding true to that. And I believed that at that time, I was helping those women and children, because if it wasn't me, it would have been another Afghan man gone in there, groping them up and down, checking them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had situations where women came at me with scissors and guns and things like that. But in my mind, I thought at the time that what I was doing was right. And I was giving them a safety aspect and a safety net that they would never have had if I wasn't there. And so I think it's just different. I don't think it's wrong or right. I just think if you can do the job and you can do it well, you should be welcome there.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Makes
sense.
A little bit different.
Yeah. No, I love it. So where do you go from here with the company? What are your goals with the company? You plugged the book a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the company really is taking on its life of its own. We're first and foremost an accessory company, straight up. We're a jewelry and sunglass company, and we're just about unifying the public with that. So really, brass for me stands for bravery, retired assistant soldier support, and unifying the public with that. So I'm trying to get the public, much like you are, Tim, trying to get the public to understand what our veterans and our service members go through on a day-to-day basis, but also what they go through when they're out, and giving them that source of hope.
Reintegration is so important.
It's number one, and it's never been number one, and it needs to start being number one. And so it's about awakening the public's eyes to what's really going on. And if we have to do that through something that'll catch their eye that's beautiful and shiny, and then hit them with the real facts, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that all day.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. Our company is going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to be a part of the fashion industry and the military world. And really, we are just trying to help. Yeah. And this is just the vehicle to get that money to where it needs to be.
And the cool thing is the proof of process. You're not just saying this. I mean, you've got Ellen, you've got Channing Tatum, you've got people like that wearing your stuff.
Yeah, and we don't pay anybody to wear our stuff. You don't like it, don't wear it, don't care. Because here's the thing, it's not going to be for everybody, and I'm okay with that. But the people that it is for are the people that really want to make the difference. And it's not about the designs. It's not about, wearing something that has every celebrity is wearing. But it is about the community that we are trying to create, and that openness and honestness that it's okay to ask for help, and recreate that, because we have come from a generation where you don't talk about these things. And it's not healthy.
Yeah, it's not. So we had a question come up from Victor the Creeper.
Sweet, Victor. Love your name. I feel like the Creeper is like...
He named the reason for it the other day, and it was pretty hilarious.
All right, I'll take it.
Yes, it's not for bad reasons.
Okay. Are we sure about this?
So he said, is it easier or harder or the same for Canadians to integrate back into civilian society?
Just as hard. It's just as hard. Yeah. We go through the same as the States. We just don't. It's just not publicized very much. I mean,
do you feel like you have the support from your government?
No. I just yelled into the mic because
I think you just clipped the audio.
I'm so sorry, but
no.
Okay. Oh my God.
Sorry?
I'm so sorry. No,
I'm making fun of her accent
right?
a lot.
I know it's brutal. No, seriously, we don't. Here's the thing. You'll get it if you have the right team in place, but it's very rare. It's like the States. If you got the right team, the right support system in place, you'll have it. But I truly don't agree that we have a great program when we come home. No, not at all. Not in any way. Or we wouldn't have the suicides. We have suicides. Yeah. I've lost more friends in Canada to suicide than I've lost overseas.
Wow.
We just don't. They're either not classified as suicides, or they're just not talked about as suicides.
Yeah. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem all around. So it's not just you
guys.
don't
acknowledge the issue. How do you fix it?
Well, exactly. It's not just you guys that are going through the problem. It's us too. Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is when I was first presented with the issue was from the British side.
Yeah, well, because
I saw a lot of documentaries. It was that documentary, Jack the Soldier Story, where Ben Anderson was covering, and he was showing and presenting the British problem with how many Brits they were losing back in the UK.
They're losing a disgusting amount right now,
and it's a lot because the war has been almost presented in a way that Vietnam was to us.
Oh no, of course it was.
The people over there treat many of them. I won't say all because I know that we have some British listeners.
Blanket statement.
Covering my bases. Almost
Stress.
Almost lost all the Brits.
Oh, not the Brits.
The British are coming.
I was just the British are coming. The British are coming.
But so that's the thing is but a lot have not supported the soldiers and Marines very well over there.
Here's
and that's
the thing.
a problem.
It's not about supporting the war.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
about supporting
No, but I'm
your
talking
country.
about supporting the
but that's
individuals.
that's what I'm saying. It's not about you can hate what we're doing till you're blue in the face. It's about supporting the people that are willing to put up and instead of just sit there on the sidelines.
Right.
So that is like a human right to be looked after when you've gone through something like that. That I truly believe that's a humanities thing. That is not a whether you like what we do or not. Mm-hmm. That is just from a human's perspective. You should have empathy towards your fellow person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No. So
how do you keep that empathy, or how do you maintain it, or how do you grow it? Where does it come from?
Reach out, ask questions, hear stories, get the real perspective. Listen to podcasts like yours, Tim, where people are telling the truth and the honesty of what's really going on over there.
Yeah.
And what we really, really see and what we really actually do. It's not hearts and minds.
No.
There's no hearts and minds. Well, there's hearts and minds, but they're not those kinds of hearts and minds.
I think I've heard some sayings about that.
Yeah, I feel like there's a few we could kick off.
Two to the chest and one to the head. I've heard that one.
Hearts and minds.
But it is important, that educational process.
It's the biggest part of it. And
right.
I think that's why it's so important for podcasts like yours. And I think it's so important for companies that are in our community because if we stayed within our community, we'll never fix problems. So the more we reach out to the general public, the more that they'll kind of go, oh, whoa. That's how many people are killing this. Whoa, why did I not hear about this? It's because it's not an interesting enough story for the news.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Sarah, anything else that you want to plug?
Anything want to plug? Anything else you
I
want to
just bring it.
advertise?
Hey, listen.
Hey, I hear
brutal
you.
honesty
No,
here.
that's what's up.
That's how we run
No,
things.
really just this, my company, Brass and Unity, every time you buy one of our pieces, sunglass, whatever it is, ring, doesn't matter, activewear, bracelet, we're here to support our fellow vets, our first responders as well. This isn't just...
I'm going to put it in the shot.
Yeah, you are.
She gave me a beautiful piece.
Yeah, I did.
I appreciate it.
It's not about that. It's not about, buying something because we tell you to buy something. It's about buying something because you know that what that money is doing is actually making real change in people's lives. 1 in 3 are homeless veterans, okay? You got 22 suicides a day. And that's just the median number. That's not the actual number because we can't have the actual number because not everybody reports them as a suicide.
Right.
Okay? Really, my goal in life is to help better our veteran and first responders after they come home. That's it. And really the only other thing is this book is also going to be a teaching tool for those that just need a push, know?
Yeah.
And we're going to donate from that book as well. All the foundations that I've worked with that have been really fantastic to help us to get where we are. Together We Stand, Honor House, A Heart of a Veteran, even the people who aren't in the military community that have reached out to us and have been huge supporters, VPD, RCMP, they've been really great. Just know that I'll leave you with this. Just if you're going through something, you can't hold it in. You can't go through it by yourself either. You may think you're strong enough, but there's going to be that weak point. So know that there's plenty of people to reach out to and make sure that you do that because we can't lose another person to suicide. And I can't hear another one die. I can't. That's why I do what I do. I'm just done. We don't deserve this. Nobody deserves to die by suicide. Nobody deserves to feel like that's the option.
Yeah.
So just reach out, man. That's all we can do.
Well, and to kind of close is I think you've said some very powerful things, but I think the most powerful thing is the fact that you've started this company that has a real goal of not just being a tangible item that you can hand over and put in someone's hands. And now you've given me this beautiful bracelet, and I appreciate that.
No worries.
But I appreciate the mission of the work even more so.
20% of that, man,
yeah.
is going to go to a different organization. That's what we do, and it's not just Canada. We
Right.
donate all over the world. All over the world. We sell all over the world. And we donate all over the world.
No.
And like I said, it's not about publicizing what we're going through and using it as a gimmick. This isn't a gimmick. This is our real life. This is what we all suffer through every single day. And it's about damn time that our general public take notice that our people are suffering, and we need to find ways to do that. So that's just all that is.
Yeah.
Brass and Unity is just that. Just help. Just help, my friend.
Yeah, well, and it's powerful hearing it from your voice because you did serve in combat, and a very active combat.
Yeah, I wasn't at a desk.
You were not sitting at a desk.
I was not sitting at a desk, but I'm sure, like I said, like read the book, you'll hear.
You served with some real pipe hitters.
I tried to. I got some solid hitters out there. Feel free to give any of them a call. I'm sure they'll. Actually, one of them calls me on in his phone. It's called Door Kicker Kelsi. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's how I'm known in Britain.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That's a good way to be known.
I'll take it. It's better than being lazy.
Rather than bullet catcher, it's something else.
There was a close one.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on, Kelsi. It's been a solid 2.5 hours.
I feel you, bro. Hey, that's what happens.
Good. Yeah. We can get to talking. We talk about things that are important.
Yeah.
And we appreciate you coming out here.
No worries. I got you. Anytime. Give us a shout.
Well, we're on our way to impeccable Mexican food.
I'm so excited right now. You have no idea, dude.
Listen, we're right next to the Riverwalk. Shout out to Hilton for getting the hotel room. But
yeah,
we're
shout
right
out to Hilton.
Hilton, thank you. But we're right
Hilton.
next to the Riverwalk. We're going to get some Mexican food.
That's what's up.
You got to here in San Antonio. Home of it. Quiet LA.
Quiet LA.
Quiet Los Angeles.
You don't know us.
You're 10 times more than we are.
Hey, we got Chipotle in Vancouver. That's about it. We just got.
You don't
Chipotle.
have good Mexican food in Canada? What?
Why would we?
No, I'm just kidding. I know you wouldn't.
We can hit you with some serious Indian though.
Yeah. Well, I bet you have some good French food too. She said, what? She said, it's time to shut it down, Tim.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
All right, guys. It's been great. Thanks
Peace.
for, paying in. It's been great to, we've had this last few minutes on the live feed, and we're thankful for all of you following in. We've had a few good questions, and we are headed out. We're thankful for all of you listeners out there. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll have some more coming at you here. Brass and Unity, Veterans Project. We're definitely going to team up on some things. We're
We
really
got some
excited
projects
about that.
coming down the road. We got some projects.
Yeah, we're excited. So we'll be talking to you all later, and we appreciate you listening. And don't forget that our legacies are the mission. We're done.
Woo!
This has been the Veterans Project Podcast with our founder, Tim Kay. Check us out at www.thevetsproject.com, on Instagram at The Veterans Project, Facebook, The Veterans Project, and Twitter at Project_Veteran. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, our legacies are the mission.